Old dude is now live. Like, share, subscribe. It is the mind of Mr. Nagazilla. 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 Old dude is now live. Like, share, subscribe. It is the mind of Mr. Nagazilla. 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 Old dude is now live. Like, share, subscribe. It is the mind of Mr. Nagazilla. 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 Old dude is now live. Like, share, subscribe. It is the mind of Mr. Nagazilla. 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 Nagazilla.
Boots on the ground, war paint on my face. Another body drop, homicide on the case. Block hot, every step, feel like a chase. But killers move quiet, vanish, no trace. Street lights flicker, shadows twist in the smoke. Homies in the cut, hearts broke but never spoke. They set us up, now we the face of the dope. We can't win, it's like pissing up a rope. Soldiers of the block, marching in the dark. Scars on the soul, everyone leaves a mark. Ain't no medals, just survival as the prize. Gang life, battlefield where the loyalty lies. Soldiers of the block, marching in the dark. Scars on the soul, everyone leaves a mark. Ain't no medals, just survival as the prize. Gang life, battlefield where the loyalty lies. Trenches ain't dirt, it's concrete and pain. YN's vicious, trying to make a name. Homies got my six, but some switch for the game. Committing treason, all for some change. Blood on the curb, baptism in the grind. Cause in the hood, know it's pushing grind. Hands on the clock, spinning back with the time. Gotta be built for this, or you could lose your mind. Silent prayers in the alleys, cathedral. Cigarette smoke swirls, preachers lethal. Chain heavy, but the bird is heavier still. The battlefield's quiet, but the streets always kill. Soldiers of the block, marching in the dark. Scars on the soul, everyone leaves a mark. Ain't no medals, just survival and surprise. Gang life, battlefield where the loyalty lies. Soldiers of the block, marching in the dark. Scars on the soul, everyone leaves a mark. Ain't no medals, just survival and surprise. Gang life, battlefield where the loyalty lies. Roll call it dawn, but it's ghosts in the ranks. Cash in the duffel, blood-stained banks. Graffiti on the walls, hieroglyphs of the lost. Every war's got a price, we just tally that cost. Drums of the night, thump louder than truth. Steel in the waist, no time for the booth. Enemies lurking, snakes hiss in the grass. Cash catching up, but we running too fast. Soldiers of the block, marching in the dark. Scars on the soul, everyone leaves a mark. Ain't no medal, just survival and surprise. Gang life, battlefield where the loyalty lies.
Oh, dude, the mind of Mister. Let's go on the track. They flood the block with sugar, call it love in a bright red can. Doctors say pressure too high, my brother. But the condom got a 2-1 plan. They lay sirens, metal door, cameras on the key. Grad and counselor juggling 30 broken stories. Meanwhile, prison bidding on beds. They sell the spare on the radio. Same 3 chains, same dead script. Tell a young empress she only worth a shake. Tell a young king he on. This is math in a backroom legend. Every life just a line of squeeze. Target market stamped on our faces, take what you please. Poison pushers in designer suits. My wild with they clean white teeth, demonic schemes in the ballroom. Whole time babies in the balance sheet. American genocide, they dress it up nice. New war, new pills, same knife. We ain't numbers, we ain't your pride. We callin' out your American genocide. 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 They turned our hung into a slogan. Dollar man, you right by the church. As you playground broken, swing said liquor store shining on every perch. They cut the bus line and blame us when we late, when we can't clock in. Boss man talking about personal feelings. His cousin wrote the law, we drowning in. They call it choice when they poison water. Call it order when they flood our streets. Send more guns where the books are missing, and that's why we fight just to eat. They buy our culture, sell it back, hollow, paint our pain as a fashion trend. But the zip codes with the softest soil still decide how our story ends. Poison pushers in designer suits. Smile wide with they clean white teeth. Demonic schemes in the ballroom. Whole turn our babies in the balance sheet. American genocide, they dress it up nice. New or new pills ain't nice. We know we ain't your pride. We callin' out your American genocide. Out your American genocide. We callin' out your American genocide. We callin' out your American genocide. But grandma kept the herbs in the kitchen, quiet prayers over pots and pans. She said, baby, read every label, they ain't feeding you, they feeding their plans. We plant greens in the cracks of the concrete, teach our sons how to breathe, not boast. Tell our daughters that crowns ain't plastic, that mine's more fire than any post. We study laws like we study scripture, court they circle like holidays. If they wage war on the way that we live, we wage love in 1,000 ways. From the march to the PTA meeting, from the cipher to the pastor mic. We name names, we trace their money, trade the shadows in the light. Poison pushers in designer suits, smile wide with they clean white teeth. Demonic schemes in the boardroom, whole ton of babies in the balance sheets. American genocide, they dress it up nice. New war, new pills ain't nice. We number, ain't your pride. We callin' out your American genocide. We callin' out your American genocide. We callin' out your American genocide. We know we ain't your prize, we living through this American genocide.
Yeah. Listen up. Pick a side, or build a side. Yeah. They profit when we're boxed in, color-coded. Scroll wars, broke floors, minds corroded. Got you barking at your neighbor for a headline, while they signing off the city for a deadline. Same rent, lace, same fridge bare. Same bus route, same blank stare. Why you beefing with the mirror in a different skin? Same wound, same blade, different spin. Unified die, that's the bottom line. Either hold the line together or they cut the spine. You can fight me or you can fight the lie. Choose one, unify or die. Unify or die, hear the battle cry. Either build a bridge or we all run dry. You can hate your blood or you can hate the vine. Choose one, unify or die. They sell fear like it's candy in a glass jar. Feeding panic to the masses from a black car. Left, right, that's a puppet in a split suit. Real power sitting quiet in a rich room. You throw hands at your brother in the same trench. Same cough in your chest, same bench. If the landlord love you both in the same way, you ain't rivals, you just victims on a layaway. Yeah. Unify or die, that's the bottom line. Either hold the line together or they cut the spine. You can fight me, you can fight the lie. Choose one, unify or die. Unify or die, hear the battle cry. Either build a bridge or we all run dry.
unify or die. Hands up, not for trends, for each other. Name one win, they ain't split us to cover. We all broke, they just changed the shade. Same storm, different rain on our fate. Unify or die, that's the bottom line. Either hold the line together or they cut the spine. You can fight me or you can fight the lie. Choose one, unify or die. Unify or die, hear the battle cry. Either build a bridge or we all dry. You can hate your blood or you can hate the bond. Choose one, unify or die. Yeah. Scales on my skin, gold grin, I'm awake. Smoke in my lungs, whole world on my plate. They praying I fall like the shark in my fangs. Dame ring bells like a war horn bang. Fire, breathing dragon. Watch me light that sky up. Legend in the canyon. Every step that ground erupt. They talk big, they vanish. On the myth they can't touch. Fire, breathing dragon. Say my name, that's bad luck. Blood on my claw, I don't beg, I claim. Walk through a storm, got a trail of flame. Castle on the cliff and my mark in stone. Every king in the book just stepped in stone. Ash on my wings, still I rise, still I glide. They hide in the crowd, I ride mountain sides. Whole map mind, see the edges curve. Took one deep breath, changed the world. Fire, breathing dragon. Watch me light that sky up. Legend in the canyon. Every step they ground erupt. They talk big, they vanish. I'm the myth they can't touch. Fire, breathing dragon. Say my name, that's bad luck. Plate full of trophies, metal and heaps. Didn't buy one, every one I keep. Came from the dark with a break, don't go. Turn that fear to a burning glow. They write my story, can't spell my rage. Every bar carved like a claw through a stage. You chase trends, I chase horizon. You see smoke, I see my island. Ooh, on war with the living quake. Heart too hot, make the rivers bake. You hear that roar when the cloud bank shakes. That's my hunger, that's your mistake. Fire, breathing dragon. Watch me like the sky up. Legend in the canyon. Every step that ground erupt. They talk big, they vanish. I'm the myth for they can't touch. Fire, breathing dragon. See my name, that's bad luck. Bad luck, bad luck, bad luck, bad
I ain't even gonna hold you no more. This some MA. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. Hey, hold on. This ought to be interesting, to say the least.
Welcome to the special report. I'm Mike Adams, and Trump just did something so insane that no one can even believe it. He just issued and signed an executive order February 18th, 2026, that offers federal protection for glyphosate weed killer and categorizes it as a critical resource for national defense. Yeah. And you can read this yourself, because you might think that can't be true. You must think I'm making it up, and I'm not. So here's the title. You can type this in and search for it. It's on whitehouse.gov. Presidential actions. Here's the title: Promoting the national defense by ensuring an adequate supply of elemental phosphorus and glyphosate-based herbicides. All right, that's the title. Now, you might wonder, well, what's phosphorus got to do with it? Well, phosphorus is the phos in glyphosate, by the way. And phosphorus can be extremely toxic and deadly and cancer-causing, which is exactly what has happened. And of course, Monsanto is most famous for glyphosate mass poisoning of the food supply and the people. But Monsanto was purchased by Bayer many years ago for what, 65 or 66 billion dollars. And Bayer is fighting the lawsuits right now, and it's been accepted by the Supreme Court. At least some motion has been accepted by the Supreme Court, and Bayer is trying to push a settlement, a multi-billion-dollar settlement, to settle all the lawsuits and grant itself permanent legal immunity for the future, kind of like what the vaccine industry has. Absolute legal immunity, which means they have a license to kill, right? They would have a license to just produce any poison, spray it on all the crops, and just saturate the food supply with deadly cancer-causing chemicals, watch everybody drop dead, and there's nothing you can do about it. And Trump just put his name on that.
Well, damn.
So I want to read for you some of this because it's just shocking. And I'm seeing comments all over social media. Maha is dead. MAGA is dead. The Trump administration is toast. I mean, I see comments like, what, protecting Satanists and pedophiles and glyphosate? Could you have any more evil of a combination of horrible things to get behind? I guess there's nothing. There's no evil that's too evil for Susie Wiles to recommend there at the Trump administration, it seems. Well, I guess we have to call it the Epstein administration at this point, don't we? Hey, what goes along with human trafficking and raping of children and eating them? Glyphosate, mass poisoning of the population through the food supply. See, this is, Operation Warp Speed was Trump's first term method of declaring war on the American people and trying to achieve mass depopulation through vaccine injection bioweapons. But it didn't work as well as they had hoped, probably. It did kill at least 1.5 million Americans, maybe many more, but it didn't kill tens of millions or hundreds of millions. Well, so now Trump is getting behind glyphosate. He thinks this is awesome. So let's see. In Section 1 of the Executive Order, Policy and Findings, he says that elemental phosphorus is also a critical precursor element for the production of glyphosate-based herbicides, which play a critical role in maintaining America's agricultural advantage by enabling farmers to efficiently and cost-effectively produce food and livestock feed. What he's saying there is, food saturated with cancer-causing chemicals. Yeah, that's what goes into the animal feed also. He continues, as the most used crop protection tools in United States agriculture, glyphosate-based herbicides are a cornerstone of this nation's agricultural productivity and rural economy. So you got that? So glyphosate herbicide that kills things, that's the whole point of it, it's a killer, is considered a cornerstone of the rural economy. And you can't make money unless you're killing people. Apparently. Anyway, Trump continues, allowing United States farmers and ranchers to maintain high yield costs while ensuring that healthy, affordable options remain within reach for all American families. So, translation, Trump says, if you spray the crops with glyphosate cancer-causing weed killer chemicals that make the food healthy. Okay, just in case you're tracking along here, that makes the food healthy. So he goes on, he says, ensuring an adequate supply of elemental phosphorus and glyphosate-based herbicides is thus crucial to the national security and defense. I bet you didn't know that weed killer cancer-causing chemicals would one day be considered national security. Yeah, there you go. He continues, including food supply security, essential to protecting the health and safety of Americans. Once again, poisoning you is keeping you healthy. Got it? Poisoning you is healthy. Wow. Nonetheless, he continues, the United States' ability to domestically produce the inputs is extremely limited. Indeed, there is only a single domestic producer of phosphorus and glyphosate-based herbicides, and this producer to meet our annual needs for those inputs. For that reason, more than 6 million grams of elemental phosphorus are imported from other countries annually. Future reduction or the cessation of domestic production of elemental phosphorus-based herbicides would gravely threaten American national security by disrupting its defense supply chain, including by having a debilitating impact on domestic agricultural capabilities, he says. Now you might wonder, well, what's he talking? Do we get glyphosate? If we don't make enough in the U.S., not even by a long shot, where do we get it? Do you want to take a guess? Where do we get everything? Rare earths, robots, computers, consumer goods, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, extracts. Where does it all come from? It comes from China. So China produces 77% of the glyphosate that's exported around the entire world. China is by far the producer of glyphosate. So this is Trump concerned that China might shut us off from their glyphosate exports, probably because Trump believes that when Trump attacked Iran, that this is going to result in some, trade retaliation action by China, including potentially cutting off glyphosate. So, if China cut off glyphosate to the United States, they'd be doing us a favor. Our food would be more organic at that point. Imagine. So Trump writes, I find that consistent with the Department of the Interior's designation, elemental phosphorus is a scarce material that is critical to national defense and security. Blah, blah, blah. Our nation's inadequate elemental phosphorus production and the threat of increased domestic scarcity leave us vulnerable to hostile foreign actors. And he says pose a threat to military readiness. I don't know why he thinks military readiness is related to glyphosate. Is that because he plans to use the military to spray us all with Orange? Maybe? Agent Orange? Which has many similarities, or some of the formula does, many similarities to glyphosate. And also was made by the same company, Monsanto. Trump writes, consistent with these findings, I find that ensuring robust domestic elemental phosphorus and United States-based production of glyphosate-based herbicides is central to economic and national security. So there you go. Weed killer is now national security. Can't make this up. So accordingly, I hereby find, pursuant to Section 101 of the Act, that domestic elemental phosphorus and glyphosate-based herbicides meet the criteria, blah, blah, blah. Goes on. Basically, he says that it's going to require performance of contracts and orders to promote the national defense or performance of any other contracts or orders to allocate materials, services, and facilities to promote the national defense, blah, 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 ensuring a continued and adequate supply of elemental phosphorus and glyphosate-based herbicides. The Secretary shall use authority under Section 101 of the Act in consultation with the Secretary of War, to determine the allocation of the materials to ensure a continued supply of glyphosate-based herbicides. Okay, I'm shortening that a little bit, but that's what it says. So, Trump just said that this is a weapon, and it's critical to national defense to have this weapon controlled by the Secretary of War. What kind of weapon is it? Well, it could be a depopulation weapon. Saturate the food supply. Saturate the food supply. Straight thing. And call it national defense. Unbelievable. But there's more. There's some kind of immunity granted here, which I'll get to. First, I want to remind you that I've been the key innovator of glyphosate testing using mass spec instrumentation for over 10 years. And my company, HealthRangerStore.com, is the only retailer of food and superfoods, storable foods, nutritional supplements, personal care products, the only retailer in the world that I'm aware of that routinely tests every production lot for glyphosate. And we find glyphosate in lots of things. And we reject those things where we find high glyphosate, obviously. And, we found it over the years in many different things. We have, in fact, I gave you a lab tour the other day. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to include the first 11 minutes of the lab tour here in this report just to show you our lab again. Because one of the instruments there, which is a Waters triple quad mass spec with a chromy setup that we use for glyphosate testing. And I spent 18 months with my coworker,
Third section,
my fellow chemists and analysts, creating the glyphosate testing method for that mass spec instrument. So I've done more work on glyphosate than most people. Not everybody. There are some scientists that specialize in it, but I've worked with glyphosate at a chemical level for detection and quantitation for many, many years. And thus, our products that we sell at HealthRangerStore.com are the most glyphosate-free products that you will find anywhere, period. Nothing else that comes even close to the level of testing that we conduct. So, given the context of what Trump has just announced here, given that glyphosate is about to have total legal immunity, it's going to be sprayed on everything. It's going to saturate the food crops like never before, because Trump is turning it into a chemical weapons attack on the American people. A chemical weapons attack. That's why he's involving the Secretary of War. This is a chemical weapon. And, if you think about chemical weapons, there are lots of chemical weapons that are based on phosphorus. Now, in the executive order, Trump says that phosphorus is used in incendiary devices, in smoke and illumination, but you may not know where else it's used in terms of military weapons. But there's a weapon called white phosphorus that is illegal to use. It ignites spontaneously in the air. It burns at a very high temperature, almost impossible to put out. It's burning, and it's used to set cities on fire. It causes severe burns, and it can kill, obviously. There are nerve agents. City possible to put out in the air. It burns at a very high temperature, almost impossible to put out. It's burning, and it's used to set cities on fire. It burns at a very, it ignites spontaneously in the air. It burns at a very high temperature, almost impossible to put out. It's burning, and it's used to set cities on fire. Air illegal to use. It ignites spontaneously in the air. It burns at a very high temperature, almost impossible to put out. It's burning, and it's used to set cities on fire. It causes severe burns, and it can kill, obviously.
My bad.
There are nerve agents. VX nerve gas is based on organophosphorus compounds. Sarin gas. Phosphorus. Okay, so very similar to glyphosate. Organophosphate pesticides, for example. They were developed, of course, in Germany by the Nazis. Gerhard Schroeder was one of the German chemists that researched organophosphate insecticides in the 1930s. And that's when he discovered tabun, T-A-B-U-N, which was known then as the first nerve agent, and later on that became sarin and VX nerve gas, etc. So there's a very similar chemistry between pesticides, herbicides, and deadly nerve agents. I mean, you need to know this stuff, that these nerve agents are classified as chemical weapons under the Chemical Weapons Convention. So, you know, these are actual weapons against life. And Trump is saying that they make our food healthy and that it makes America strong and that it protects farmers. Farmers are dying from exposure to glyphosate. I mean, doesn't it make you wonder how much money did somebody in the Epstein administration, to make this happen? I wonder. I mean, I don't know for sure that happened, but it's a guess. And you know, it's insane because
they trying to take land for data centers and shit.
If you were going to declare war against some other country, you would poison their food supply. I'm not saying I would. I mean, you know, an evil leader would try to poison their food supply and give their people cancer and cause their people to die from exposure to the weed killer. But Trump's doing that to us. He's doing that to America. He's not spraying glyphosate on Iran. He's spraying glyphosate all over our food. We're the ones that are going to pay the price. It'll be in your dog food. It'll be in all your pet food. It'll be in restaurant food. It'll saturate the entire food supply. There will be no restrictions on the use of glyphosate, and there will be ample imports, you know, hundreds of millions of tons, probably, to be sprayed on the food crops with full legal protection from the Trump administration. And that's even mentioned in the executive order. Section 3 is titled Immunity. Says this order confers immunity provided for in Section 707 of the Act. And it says that domestic producers of glyphosate are required to comply with this order. Now, that's not exactly legal immunity, just to be clear. Not direct legal immunity, but this executive order will give Bayer the ability to argue with the Supreme and in state courts that glyphosate, it can't be outlawed and they can't be found guilty because Trump has declared it to be a national security resource. Therefore, it seems very likely that Bayer is going to be granted absolute legal immunity in upcoming Supreme Court decisions or perhaps state court decisions. Or from a legal perspective, Bayer's attorneys could argue that federal authority over glyphosate would preempt any kind of state level tort claims or, you know, civil cases. I mean, that's going to happen. So the immunity is coming. So Bayer is going to have legal immunity, just like the vaccine industry. And remember, that gave the vaccine industry a green light to mass poison and murder over 1 million Americans. So the takeaway from this is that this underscores the extreme importance from this day forward of making sure that you only consume foods that are tested for glyphosate or that are certified organic. But even then, there's been glyphosate found in organics too. You know, because of winds or something, or maybe fraud, who knows. But that's why even though almost everything we sell is already certified organic, we don't trust the USDA. We don't trust the organic certification. We don't trust really the farmers or the producers. We don't trust. I mean, we trust but verify, as Ronald Reagan said. That's what we do. We verify with our own lab. Sure, that we're not selling you something that's super saturated with glyphosate. So if you want ultra clean food, At this point, my goodness, because I mean this executive order just came out. This is going to give farmers basically a green light to just everything mass. They use it as a desiccant in the fields. That's why they spray wheat. Yeah, you might think, well, why do they spray wheat? There's not Roundup Ready wheat, right? Even though there's Roundup Ready corn. Why do they spray wheat? They spray it as a desiccant. So when you're out there buying bread, a loaf of bread is often saturated with glyphosate. The state of Florida numbers on that. Some of the breads have 191 parts per billion of glyphosate. And we are buying breads right now. We're going to test them. I'll bring you those results. So I'm going to be bringing you regular reports from our laboratory, by the way, because we're going to be testing not just off-the-shelf breads, but other products as well. I'm not going to say in advance what they are, but you'll find out. Now, you may know, because I've commented about glyphosate for 15, 20 years. I'm not concerned about very, very low exposure, like, 1 part per billion or something. I'm not concerned about that. And that's not what this is. Trump is giving these farmers a green light to super saturate the food crops with glyphosate. So we're going to see, I believe, this is my guess, but we'll let our lab instruments tell us for sure. I think we're going to start to see many, many foods grown in America, which includes corn and wheat and, lots of things, lots of fruits and vegetables and avocados and what have you. I think we're going to start seeing 100+ billion within the next growing season. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 500 parts per billion for some certain products, like certain wheat crops. This is what's going to happen. Trump is ramping up the masking of the food supply. And for people who are already vaccine injured because they trusted Trump the first time and they took the jabs, their health is already compromised. That could potentially make them more susceptible to glyphosate poisoning, which we know causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and other types of cancers and many other problems and other kinds of disorders, etc. In fact, I'm going to do an article series on the harm of glyphosate. So Trump just turned America's food supply into a poisoned well, essentially, and he's going to be granting, through this action, he's effectively granting Bayer a license to kill with a deadly product that has so many lawsuits that, they had to beg the courts to consolidate the lawsuits into a potentially $1 billion settlement, which is still pending, I believe. I don't think it has been settled yet. That's how toxic this is. That's why I don't use glyphosate anywhere. The only glyphosate I ever bought was to use in the lab for testing. Just to see. Also, I ran a water filter test. Remember a few years ago, I published those results to show you which water filters remove glyphosate. And some of them do. The cheap ones don't, for the most part, or they don't remove. Glyphosate is a very small molecule. Very small. And it permeates everything, right through the cells of your body, goes right through your intestines. From the food, it goes right into your blood, and from the blood, it goes right into your brain, by the way. It's known, not only because of its polarity, but also just because it's small size. It's known to be able to penetrate through cell walls and blood-brain barrier, etc. Glyphosate goes everywhere in your body. Just within minutes after eating it, it starts circulating everywhere. And the final insult in this is, we have to do this to help farmers economically, to keep them profitable. You want to help farmers? Stop taxing them. In fact, you want to help America? End the IRS and stop printing currency. That's what's making everybody poor, not a lack of glyphosate. For God's sake, it's taxation and money printing, which is theft from the people. That's what's making people poor. And didn't Trump just allow a massive importing of beef from Brazil, I think? Massive imports. So that reduces the profitability of U.S. cattle ranchers, doesn't it? So on one hand, Trump is harming cattle ranchers. Then on the other hand, he's like, no, we farmers. let's let them have more poison. You know, it's just completely insane. So anyway, Maha's dead. It's over. It's become a horror show. Trump is like the Joker in a Batman movie now. He's a villain with a chemical weapon and wants you to. He's defending the big, powerful corporations as usual, the ones that are mass poisoning everybody. The vaccine companies, the pesticide companies, the big banks, big tech, the big weapons companies. All basically, Trump's presidency has collapsed into outright traitorous train wreck against the very people who put him into power. I mean, Trump's still pushing vaccines, still not glyphosate, still pushing big tech. It's insane, and war at the same time. So this is a catastrophic move by Trump that is going to ensure that Democrats take a massive majority in the House in the midterms, and possibly now even a majority in the Senate. And maybe that's why Trump's rushing right now to get everything, like, let's poison the country as quickly as possible before the Democrats get in power and stop me. You know, that's what it seems like. It's just every insane thing that they can think in the White House. Now it's like, how do we kill Americans? Oh, let's build a massive network of internment camps, special incineration devices. Yeah, that's a great idea. So they've got like $50 billion going to that. Oh, let's mass poison the people with glyphosate. Okay, let's start a new war in the Middle East. What else? You know, let's print trillions. It's insane. It makes you wonder what's RFK Jr. going to do about this? Even though HHS doesn't sit over USDA, I don't think. But this has got to be highly disturbing to RFK Jr. because he's opposed to glyphosate also. We know this about him. He must be just wringing his hands right now. What the heck? What kind of administration did I sign up for? Yeah, well, we're all wondering that, actually. This is one of the times where I will remind you I did not vote for Trump this last time around. I did vote for him previously, not this time. Something, my spidey sense was going, flashing, things wrong, so I didn't vote for him. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to play the first 11 or 12 minutes of my lab tour video here to show you that we test for glyphosate. And we're serious about it. You're going to see. We have a massive multi-million-dollar laboratory facility that is accredited, state-of-the-art. We routinely test. We do more testing for glyphosate and heavy metals and mycotoxins and listeria and E. coli, etc., more than any other food manufacturer or retailer in the world that I'm aware of. No one's ever challenged this. No one's ever told me, no, you're wrong. Here's this other company that tests more than you do. Never heard that. Because it would be, it's almost impossible that you hear that from any company. I mean, nobody's got a lab like we have in this industry. Like governments have labs like this. University labs are larger. But for supplements, nobody's got a lab like this. So I want to show you that our food is clean. HealthYourStore.com. When you want clean food that's been tested for all these things, it's scrutinized in ways that nobody else does it, shop at HealthRangerStore.com. Trump is trying to poison you. I'm trying to keep you clean in your food supply. I'm trying to keep you healthy. I'm trying to avoid the mass poisoning. But you understand where this is going, right? Glyphosate is going to be used to poison the poor people who can't afford organic. So check out this lab video. This is part of the tour. And thank you for your support and speak out against this. This is insane. All right, thanks for listening. Take care. All right, welcome to Health Ranger Lab. This is where we test all the food and supplements and other products that we sell at health.com. And we recently
Nerdville.
moved to this new laboratory facility where we have multiple mass experiments, and I want to walk you through this lab and show you some of the equipment that it takes to ensure that you're getting clean food and clean supplements. So let's start this way. We'll look at the ICP-MS instrument. So we've got a couple. These are inductively coupled plasma mass spec, and they use food samples or other samples. You could do hair and soils that are prepared in nitric acid, and then it's injected through a plasma torch into the cone and then the quadrupole, etc., to the detector over here for M over Z detection. What is M over Z? Mass over charge, and that is the atomic mass of what you're looking at, and that's how we can get readouts and reports like this. We can see exactly the parts per billion of all these different elements. Like here's silver and cadmium, etc., and mercury, different isotopes of mercury in there. But this is how it works. And right here, the plasma torch is in there. This is a sample introduction system. This is the auto sampler robot. And down on the floor is the rough that actually pulls the vacuum. And that rough pump is loud, and that's some of what you're hearing right now because other rough pumps are running in the lab. It's always difficult to film in a real active working lab just because of all the background noise. We also have ventilation systems here. You can see there's a lot of outgassing of ventilation that's necessary for all these machines. And by the way, the yellow foam on the walls, that's spray foam insulation, so we can temperature control this environment. Here's our original mass. This is the one I actually learned on right here over 10 years ago. And it's got a little bit of an older sample introduction plumbing system, put a Niagara on it. It's got a little bit of an older robot, but I just want to show you something. You see the rust right there, all the oxidation of that grill on that fan? That's just nitric acid fumes. So the nitric acid in here, it burns holes in all kinds, including circuit boards and clothing. That's why people wear lab coats. I would be, except putting nitric acid today. Thank goodness. Also, you know, you can kind of see the control system here. These use basically the same software. They can look at almost every element. We have a multi-element standard, external standards with, I think, 32 elements is what we're looking at right now. All the ones that you care about: lead, cadmium, arsenic, mercury, as well as many nutritive elements such as zinc or even selenium or trace copper, for example. We can see all of that in every sample. All right, this is a nitrogen separation system here. So outside this wall, we have air compressors, and they pump in through these membranes here, which separate the nitrogen out of the rest of the atmosphere. So nitrogen is really about 79% of the composition of atmospheric air. The other roughly 20%, well, a little bit less, is oxygen. And there's a little bit of argon gases and so on. But for example, if I turn this on here, this valve, that's pressurized because that's feeding nitrogen through these lines to all these other instruments. Nitrogen is an inert carrier. It's a carrier gas that's used in a lot of these mass spec instruments. Here's a stack of some single quad equipment that we have right here. We can use this for monitoring pesticides or herbicides or chemical marker in any kind of botanical products such as turmeric. We can look at the curcumin, or we can look at the purity of vitamin C, or we can look at caffeine or anything like that. So this is a single quad stack with the binary pump and the auto sampler and the single quad itself. This is a really interesting combination that we're using now for glyphosate testing. What's cool about this is that this combines ion chromatography. This is a Metrum instrument right here. It combines ion chromatography with single quad mass spec using this Agilent LC-MS. This is the IQ system. So what's really great about this is you can get very low detection limits, like about 1 part per billion of glyphosate using the system, because the ion chromatography separates the entire matrix out of the signal, and as a result, then your waste products are really clean and you get very high signal-to-noise ratio on this. So we actually developed this method recently. Show you on the screen. This is our calibration curve. That's a really strong calibration curve there on different concentrations of glyphosate, and these are some of the overlays of the peaks showing you the signal to noise ratio. So we're going to look at some other instruments here. This is just a sample extraction system from CEM. It uses heat and pressure, plus solvents and some filter paper to extract the analytes from food samples. This is pretty cool. So this FMS system right here, this is used for extraction for dioxin testing. So we're about to roll out really large-scale dioxin testing on not just our own food samples, but also off-the-shelf foods, especially animal products. We're talking about eggs, milk, cheese, and meat, because that's where dioxins tend to concentrate, is in the fats of animals. So this FMS system here, combined with these columns, this is an extraction system that uses basically just vacuums with special chemistry of the columns to trap the lipids and allow the dioxins to come through the sample in mostly water or other solvents. And then there's usually here, but it's being repaired at the moment. It's called a super vap. It's a laboratory evaporator. So we take the samples that come out of this system, we put them in the super vap, and then that dehydrates them down, and we can sort of rehydrate back to a specific volume, such as 10 microliters or 100 microliters, whatever we want. Using this system, there's actually 2 super vaps that go here. We can get another 4 to 5 orders of magnitude of sensitivity out of our dioxin testing on our instrument that I'm going to show you, which is our GC instrument, using the sample prep method. So it gives us extreme sensitivity, like parts trillion sensitivity. Let me show you the instrument that actually does that. That's this right here. So this is an Agilent GC instrument, or gas chromatography. Now, GC, I mean, extremely useful for lots of things, especially certain pesticides and so on. Here's the auto sampler for the GC, and then here's the oven in long column. I think that column is like 60 meters in length, and it's all wound up. I don't want to open it. And here you can see some of the peaks from the different samples that we've run. I think these are calibration samples, actually, or calibrates. And then, working on this method right now, we're replacing a couple of the parts in this instrument to get the peak shapes to look a little bit better. There's some shouldering that's happening right now, but we're getting a really strong signal to noise ratio here of more than 25 to 1, even at 10 parts per trillion of dioxins. So that means we'll be able to have extremely great detection at very low concentrations. And soon we'll be bringing you lots of news about dioxin testing, and we'll be able to certify that our own products are dioxin free. And let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, so this triple quad mass spec here is from a different company. This is from Waters, and this is a beast. So this instrument, I actually worked on this method for 1.5 years, this glyphosate quantitation method, using a really unique chemistry. Don't rely on what's called the post-column derivatization. We don't need to do that. Instead, we use a really unique column, which I'll just show. There it is. This is a very special column, very unusual. It's not a C18 or anything like that. And we have a very unusual chemistry. This column is completely nuked by any alcohols, including methanol. So the entire, the mobile phase and all the chemistry of this instrument has no alcohols in it at all, which is very unusual for any kind of liquid chromatography. The auto sampler is right here. Currently doesn't have any samples. We're not in the middle of a run at the moment. And the reason this is so low is because this is a triple quad mass spec. So it has to draw an extreme vacuum. So it's got a rough pump, and it's got a really massive turbine pump inside to dump every last molecule of air that might find its way into the system. And that happens also when you're introducing your sample system. It's sucking in air to push an ion stream through the quadrupoles. And that's why it has to pull a strong vacuum. On the screen here, we're just pulling this up. There's a typical P.
Translate. Translation. I don't play about this shit. That's what, let me translate for him. I ain't playing about this shit. This is what I do. All right. sum that up for you. What's the word out there, man? What's good? Nigglets. Nigglets running all over the house. I had to translate for y'all. Basically what he was saying was, I don't play about this shit. We're gonna move on to the next. I kind of forgot what he was talking about, but on here, I do remember some pieces though. I was having a pretty interesting conversation with this cat. You gotta excuse me. I'm eating again. Yeah.
Of the American Journal. That is a morning show here on InfoWars. And well, there's a lot happening today, and Alex actually is going to be jumping on in just a bit, so make sure you stay here. He's got a lot to sound off in regards to the latest Epstein arrest. We finally got one. I could say Epstein arrest, thankfully. Unfortunately, though, it didn't happen here on U.S. soil. No. It actually happened abroad in the U.K. Prince Andrew has apparently been arrested, and the charges itself are a little as of right now. But I mean, this is a win. We'll take a little bit of a win when we can, and this seems to be a win. It looks like so far that the accountability tour, which I've been begging years, might actually be kicking off right now in regards to Epstein. Exactly. So just in case you're wondering, by the way, Prince Andrew, today's his 66th birthday. What a way to celebrate. Happy 66th birthday, you scumbag. But most importantly, when you go down all the information that's been pouring out of the DOJ, and again, you know, I've been very critical, but let's just focus on side. 3.2 million documents making their way to the internet, and all of you at home have been doing the deep dives into figuring out what's actually happening here. And we've learned a lot. But when it comes to Prince Andrew, well, President Trump knew exactly what was happening behind the scenes. People of just that. In clip 14 back in 2015, well, he did it. Take a listen.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
What do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So
the island was an absolute cesspool, and that is beyond accurate. Joining me to discuss is Steve Deace. He's one of the incredible hosts over at Blaze, and he's with us now to discuss all things related to Epstein and the latest we've uncovered so far. Steve, I want to thank you for being here. You know, this is a win. We'll take a win when we can. And I think it's a great thing to see that the UK has just arrested Prince Andrew. What do you make of all of this? Because it's been long overdue.
It is a win, Brianna, but I have to tell you, my first thought when I saw this morning was, we cannot have the country where if you complain that your Anglo-Saxon daughters are going to get raped by Muslims on social media, we arrest you, okay? Not have that country arrest somebody over the Epstein files before we do. I mean, we cannot have Keir Starmer in arresting people, okay, over the Epstein files, anxious to send their cops out to find you if you misgender someone on social media. We cannot have the UK outflanking us here, all right? And so Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked to somebody. Jeffrey Epstein trafficked to somebody. Now, I know our official government position is that Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked to Jeffrey Epstein. I highly doubt he was able, no matter what in the world he was putting in his body, I have a hard time believing he was able to indulge all those victims on his own, Brianna. So who else did he traffic to? And then you hear people say, well, there's no list. I've got an idea. Here's how you get a list. It's pretty simple, actually. Note all the people in the Epstein file, all right? Investigate them, and then put them down in what we call a list of those that you have evidence that they're guilty, and release said list. And voila, the list is now readily available, Brianna. It's just that simple. Maybe not easy, but it's that simple.
Well, Steve, I'm surprised to hear that you weren't happy with the list that the DOJ released to Congress, that letter that was released over the, and it details a bunch of people who never even met Jeffrey Epstein, but it was people who were critical, Republicans too, who were critical of the way the DOJ handled all of this. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and MTG pointed this out, and I think it was great that she did. When you go to see her names on the list, you then go and look at the document that they're citing, that they're redacted with just massive black boxes everywhere. She posted this on Twitter, the video directly to show just that. I mean, the DOJ is out here, and I have to just assume at this point that it's just a personal dig. I mean, even the name Cat Turd pops up on this list now, and it's so crazy to me that they thought that this was acceptable by putting these names in there and just being as I would say it's controversial, obviously, but it's also meant to cause confusion, because it's like, okay, are these people associated with Epstein then? I mean, what do you make of what the DOJ did this weekend?
I think this really begins, it was almost exactly 1 year ago. Remember, it was leading into the president's first joint speech to Congress. I think it was the day of even.
Oops.
That they brought some of the most important influence on our side over the White House. They were not originally brought there, by the way, to receive the Epstein files. They were there for something else. They were brought into a meeting with Pam Bondi, where they were then given these binders, and then they come out and tell us that they have the Epstein files, and in it is just a bunch of stuff that was already publicly known from his previous two prosecutions. And this was after days of Pam Bondi going on Fox News. See, that's the thing too. I mean, our we needed Attorney General Brandon, who's doing more than auditioning to host the 11 Eastern show on Fox News on Sunday nights. There's more to that job than auditioning for that gig. Okay, and so she led us to believe for days on Fox News. They're on my desk. They're piled on my desk, and then they actually have the New York. What did you tell us for days on Fox News that there's? I think is it the Project Verito of her saying over a lunch ago about the amount of carnage that's in these things. I mean, here's the reality of this: is this has been incredibly mismanaged politically, incredibly, and it's a classic Republican Party play. We have done it on issues. You were just detailing it to some respects from a Maha perspective in the segment before I came on. And one of the problems we have on our side is that we have this. One of the great things about it, very broad coalition, which means there's a wide swath of thought and information from people who don't want to be communist, Marxist, globalist, gay race communists, that we are able to entertain a huge tent of people in thought. But it can be very difficult if you're trying to govern this broad of a coalition of a political party that makes Howard Lutnick and Brianna Morella both feel like they're at home. Right? Okay. And so when you try to bridge that wide chasm of thought and perception, you end up doing things like, well, we're going to do mass deportation. Yes, Howard Lutnick, you're going to have to give up Consuela and your gardener and your nanny. The elite will lose their minds. And then we don't want to offend those because those folks go write the big check. But then the people that listen to Brianna Morella, okay, your audience gets really ticked off because then we didn't do what we promised, right? And so there's this constant teeter-totter of these two extremes on our side and how we're going to appease them. And you've watched this play out with Epstein. Right? A handful of names. It's funny. We are accepting liability when at least 90% of the liability for Epstein associations are on their side, and yet we're the ones over here struggling with how to navigate this because there's a few people like Lutnick that apparently we can't embarrass or prosecute, and so you end up then offending the elites, the rich folks that write the big checks on our side by letting them get embarrassed or scared, and then you don't follow through with prosecutions, and so you take the rank and file on our side. And you end up demoralizing them. And this happens consistently within the American right when we try to govern. And it's happening right now on the issue you talked about last segment.
Yeah, and it's true. And it's so frustrating to see. By the way, folks at home right now, in case you're wondering, Prince Andrew, I should say, has officially been released. BBC just ran a photo. He looks horrified. Hopefully, they're doing some waterboarding in there while they had him in the police station. He looks absolutely horrified, though, but officially he has been. So we'll keep our eye on that guy. But, let's talk about the people that we know here in this country who are named files. We're watching And Steve, I'm laughing about this, but it's not funny. But it's also funny to sit there and watch all of these elitists try to just dance around. All these billionaires, they knew Epstein, but they weren't friends with him. But they needed money. Apparently, these billionaires, Bill Gates needed money for their charitable causes, and they were just so kind and so sweet to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein, to do the American people and the rest of the world a favor, which is really cool. They did just that. By the way, they're billionaires, so none of this really makes any sense why they'd be doing it. But again, it's one of the many layers of BS PR scheme that they're trying to push out right now. But you mentioned Howard Lutnick. It's crazy because when you're going through all the documents being released, although he, in front of, I believe it was Congress, he testified trying to distance himself from everything and saying, yeah, with my daughters, I think to Epstein's Island, but it wasn't what we thought it was.
As one does. I mean, let he who has not enjoyed a nice lunch right there on the shores of Epstein Island with your wife and daughter, that's the first stone, Bria, as one does. Yes.
Oh my God. It's hard not to laugh at this because it's just so stupid and such a bad, like I've done crisis management. This is not what you would tell someone to say. You would tend to, maybe apologize, but say that there was no wrongdoing. You wouldn't tell them just to make up this lie and be like, oh, I took my daughters there. It's such mind-blowing. It truly is. But, oh, by the way, there was another billionaire. Let's see, what was his name? With $2 billion Reid Hoffman, who came out too and was during a podcast. Guy. Yeah. He's like, yeah, well, I needed money and I heard that Epstein was going to give it to me. Yeah, he's worth like $2.6 billion. He needed money. But right now with Howard Lutnick, it's worth looking into. I mean, we're going through the files and he's named multiple times in the files, but most importantly, there's an FBI complaint alleging that Howard Lutnick was a smoke screen, is what they're alluding to, and say that he was a part of, and this is their accusation, illegal activities. Again, we don't know if that's true or not, but it's listed in the Epstein files. We also know that Howard Lutnick sent to Jeffrey Epstein an invitation for him to come to Hillary Clinton's campaign event to fundraise for Clinton. Yeah. There's that as well. There's also another document that shows that Epstein donated $50,000 to charity celebrating Howard Lutnick in 2017. But Howard Lutnick's not a problem, Steve. That's what we're being told right now by this administration.
I think, again, it goes back to, and that the great irony of this is, I didn't know what Epstein Island was until Trump ran for president for the first time in 2016. I had no clue what it was. And I think what you're seeing are dangers of when you try to govern such a broad coalition. You've seen it, for example, in the president's ability, phenomenal ability, to use his leverage unilaterally to get things done globally in the foreign policy theater that previous presidents could never get done. All right. I mean, and so I think that's because the leverage only has to go one way. He's representing us as a country, and he doesn't have the internal political dynamics that he's got to calculate, and so he can more unilaterally use that leverage. But when we get to domestic politics, this is again where the uniparty aspect, where all these folks are all invested in each other, they're all friends with each other, they're all part. It's the old George Carlin line, club, and we ain't in it, right? Okay, and so we do need some of these elements probably on some level in order to have a political party capable of competing with the Democrats. So that's just the reality of living in a fallen world. But then the balancing act becomes, if you promise people you're going to act on things and then you don't. This happens on the Republican Party so often, Brianna. We get the blowback for what we claim to believe. But then we don't follow through on those beliefs, and then so we never get the benefit of actually having them. And this happens consistently, whether it's 52 attempts to so-called repeal Obamacare when they didn't have the votes to do it, and then in Trump's first term, they don't get it done. Right, over and over, you got all the insurance companies ticked off at you, all the corporate elites ticked off at you, and then didn't repeal it, and so now then the base gets ticked off at you because they feel like you didn't keep your word. That's what's happening on Epstein. That's what's happening on immigration and deportations. That's what's happening on a host of issues. And I think that I've talked to several people running for in this cycle on our side. The number one thing I hear over and over again is the biggest problem I have right now is our base is demoralized and getting them motivated to take part and to vote and to be a part of the process again.
Yeah, and I'm here, and I hate when they use this term, but the black pill are here. But the reality of it is I don't have many things to be looking forward to right now, unfortunately. We're having to keep pushing this and pushing this, and that's just where we kind of, a lot of us have been outspoken about the redactions that have been made, and we don't really understand why certain individuals are having their names redacted. And another document, which is apparently a flight log. It shows Hoffman traveled on Epstein's plane, his private jet, to his island. Now in that document, it says that there's 2 names apparently that have been redacted in all of this. I mean, Steve, the DOJ is going out there and they're trying to combat what Thomas Massie, the great congressman from Kentucky, keeps going out there and saying, trying to combat him with these back and forth about the redactions. But I have more evidence that these redactions they're taking place, but it's not because they're victims. What do you make of all of this? Because they'll continue to say that this is justified, but for the rest of us, I want to know who passenger 2 and passenger 3 are. But unfortunately, our DOJ won't tell us.
That's the thing. If they just told you, then we would know.
Yeah.
And we'd have the answer to your question. And one of the things that we have to be very careful of, I mean, I have been very hesitant about how much stuff I bring on my show or share on my feeds that's out there, that can be verified. A lot of people trying to weaponize this for other various agendas or whatever they may have in store that they want to talk about instead. And so I can think of an entity, Brianna, that is uniquely empowered to investigate such things, bring us clarity, unredact such things, be able to confirm such things with what we used to call evidence. What's it called? The Department of Justice, and supposedly our people are in charge of that right now, and they could answer all these. I think you just need to figure out over there at the White House on this issue. We're not your base is not going away. Your base is not following the signals of we're moving something. They're not moving on. They're not. This has been a major issue for our base now for years. And so they're not going to move on. And so you're better off now, instead of trying to get them to move on against their own will, to actually giving them credible information and confirming what's true and then acting on it. And that's where you mentioned Massie. I mean, the Trump's been trying to get rid of Massie for several cycles. Let's just play devil's advocate here and say, hey, if I can see why the administration would want to get rid of Massie. He's held up some of the big spending votes and other things they've cared about over the year. Want to put more of a loyalist in there? Okay, hey, that's a president's prerogative, and that's why we have primaries and let the people decide. But if you wanted to get rid of Thomas Massie, handing him an issue like this, where he can now credibly, you're right, and keep hitting you from the right. I mean, I not only are they not going to get rid of Massie in this primary, I think it's way more likely, Brandon, that he's going to win convincingly than they're going to get rid of him. They've handed him an issue. They've absolutely handed him an issue by which he could withstand all of their various attacks on other things where maybe Trump's base might be more sympathetic to Trump's narrative on this primary than they would be Massie's. They need to get it doesn't matter how many friends that you think that you don't want to embarrass or you're concerned about, or 1 or 2 donors. One of the most fine cases in this is Les Wexner, the Victoria's Secret creator, because he's an Ohio donor that was listed as that was outed as a co-conspirator here, but he's an Ohio donor, never donated a Vance, never donated to Trump. He's a total Rob Portman kind of Mike DeWine globalist simp donor. There's no reason whatsoever not to hammer this guy as a potential unindicted co-conspirator here and make him an indicted one if the evidence is there. There's no political incentive to do it at all, and yet we haven't. Right? He's not single track to jump to Trump or Vance. Why are we protecting that guy? I mean, the whole thing politically makes no sense, and that's why the base is still somewhat in revolt over this. Yeah,
well, as you were mentioning, and you've got your eye on the ball right now when it comes to all of this, because the committee over in Congress actually just began releasing his full deposition. Now, again, it's just a little snippet. It's 26 seconds long. It's not the full one right now, but they're going to be releasing it hopefully within the next couple of minutes. It looks like they're going to be dropping that link soon, so we'll keep our eye on that so we can bring it to you all at home very, very soon. But again, Les Wexner just had his deposition video. It's being released right now from the House Oversight Committee, and we'll keep you on that. But again, that's going to be one that I look forward to seeing and seeing what they specifically were asking him. So we'll be all to hang tight for that one. But I also want to bring this up, Steve, as well, because I've been doing for quite some time too as well, digging into the Epstein stuff and trying to get some documents for myself. Done FOIA requests. That's the Freedom of Information Act request. I've done several of them. But this one stands out to me the most because I asked the Bureau of Prisons. Keep in mind, the Bureau of Prisons is run by the DOJ. So the DOJ is the ones that run the Bureau of Prisons. I requested Epstein's final phone call. And as many of you guys know, on the night that he was night that he died, we'll just say, it's controversial whether he killed himself or not. The night that he died, he actually did make a phone call between 7 and 8 o'clock at night. Now, I wanted to hear what that phone call was about. I want to hear his tone of voice. If he was somebody who, because again, we see the emails, he was working out a plea agreement. I want to hear where his state of mind was in all of this. And unfortunately for me, after filling out this request, I was informed by the Bureau of Prisons that they had no record of his phone call. Well, this sent me spiraling, obviously, and now learned that according to the jail itself, the prison itself, that he was apparently speaking to his sister. Those are the accusations saying, but they're also saying that, no, we actually don't even have any records of that. Now, as someone who's a journalist and has been in this game for a little bit longer than most, I know when I call those who are in prison that your calls are recorded, Steve. So this was quite concerning to me, but they never gave us the call. I want to play clip 15 for you too, because Senator John Kennedy, who I love dearly, because he always gives me the best punchlines, but he asked Kash Patel in regards to Epstein killing himself allegedly, asked when we're going to see those records. Take a listen.
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself, or did somebody?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Cash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out of the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so we're still waiting for that in regards to it. Again, I still haven't received anything from the Bureau of Prisons. What do you make of all of this?
I got to be honest, man. I just don't trust. Every time Kash Patel speaks, I just feel like he's dissembling. Trusted the guy from the beginning. Just don't like the vibe, the aura, idea, what information to protect the victims is required. If he committed suicide unilaterally in a cell, no idea what would be there that would we could not disclose on behalf of victims. That just doesn't pass any kind of smell test whatsoever. And I think people need to be reminded here. We're talking about who at the time was arguably the most high value incarcerated individual in the entire American penal system.
Yeah.
And so they don't have video of him hanging himself. The camera's broke. The guys fell asleep. We don't have a recording. This is Peter Sellers, Inspector Clouseau levels of Z that no one above a double-digit IQ believes. And that's why no one above a double-digit IQ believes it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's really an intelligence test, and I think for most of us at home, we don't really believe it.
If you believe it yourself, you're either getting paid to or you're on your 16th booster. Those are the two choices. Yes.
It's true, Steve. I can't argue against that one. It truly is the reality that we're dealing with. And when we sit here and we keep saying, oh, we don't have any recordings, we don't have phone calls. By the way, I left this part out. He apparently called his sister. That's according to the reports that later came out. But he told the prison guards, get this, that he was calling his mom. Now, his mom died 15 years prior, so there's no way he's calling his mom on a direct line to either heaven or hell. I don't know which one she's in right now, but it doesn't make any sense. It confused the guards there, but I'm just not buying any of this, Steve. And it's just so frustrating to sit on the outskirts of all of this and then have them tell us we're being transparent with you. Believe it. I'm not buying any of this right now. Steve Deace, thank you for joining us. You do a great job all the time. I'm over at The Blaze as well, breaking all of this down. Grateful for you jumping on with us today and doing just that. So thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. Take care.
Thank you so much. Folks, if you don't follow Steve, you got to give him a follow on X as well. Let me just tell you that. I listen to Steve speak all the time. He has me questioning, asking a lot of questions, has me double taking and thinking for myself, which not many people in this space have me. He is quite the delight to listen to, and he's a very intelligent and a very important voice in this space. So make sure you give him a follow on X as well. That's Steve Deace Shows, where you can find him on Twitter. All right, folks. So, I told you, and we're going to be diving into it here in InfoWars. We're getting ready to see it, and it's going to be a big one. But it looks like the Oversight Committee released Les Wexner's deposition. That's something that we're going to be frantically looking into and watching and sifting through right now. We've got our team, and we'll bring you the very latest. That's why you can't go anywhere. You got to stay put. I know Harold over this as well, and we forward to seeing what his take is on that. But like I also mentioned to you guys, Alex is going to be here in just a little bit, and he's got a lot to sound off on as well about the Epstein files, but most importantly, the arrest of Prince Andrew. Now, again, he's just been released moments ago. There's a lot of questions. And again, like Steve said, I've been saying this forever. Who would have thought that the first major arrest wasn't going to take place in the United States? By the way, did you know Ghislaine Maxwell here on H-1B visa? Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein actually got her here on H-1B. Just another reason to get rid of H-1B visas. Just another random fact throw your way. Folks, if you want another random fact thrown your way, head on over to random.com. Why? Well, there's a couple more hours.
I muted you because of extreme amounts of background noise. Okay?
No, I didn't.
Left.
You do be having a lot of background noise. I don't know about today, but a little bit. It was a little louder. But
Okay, I'll be quiet. I'll be very quiet.
oh my goodness.
What?
What you doing over here? So I go through, I tell her a few things, you know.
What?
Yeah, one of those wise guys.
Now you got all the background noise. Who is that?
What are you talking about? It's me. It's Mr. Tony.
Tony with all the baloney.
I don't know who changed. Yeah, there you go. You asking me to change? I can't change that shit. Who else in here? What's up? Oh shit! They go T-Dub.
Uh-oh. The party is started.
Shit, this party damn near over. Oh, shit. I'm gonna try not to cough on this shit. This motherfucker weed, nigga. Oh shit. What she look like? Is them earrings on her? She got some big ass alien ears.
Who?
Chick on the screen.
I can't see that.
Even know how long you been in the chat, T-Dub.
How do I make this turn off?
Turn what off?
I don't see what you're talking about.
You don't see this female on the screen?
Uh-uh.
I don't understand.
I just see the chat.
Oh. You still should be able to see the damn.
Oh, there it goes.
Lord have mercy. Could you hear that shit? Could you hear the shit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was gonna say. It's sitting here. Don't suffer in silence.
What?
It's an old commercial. Remember that? Remember that preparation H commercial? Don't suffer in silence.
Oh.
And then, oh, that's something else. I thought that was that preparation H.
I don't remember that commercial, but that's hella funny.
Don't suffer in silence. What else I catch today? What else I catch today? You got. I was pretty adamant about that Glyphosate thing. Ooh, what about them doctors I was talking about the other day?
You didn't play it.
No.
Play it.
If I can find it. I'll find it.
So I can't believe
Nigga rock.
Trump is trying to spray all the crops.
Glyphosate. Glyphosate. Glyphosate.
He trying to do something.
It sure is like seem like well, I mean different face, same plan. Shit.
But think about all the people with the jab.
Exactly.
I
feel it's gonna hit
Glyphosate gonna tear them a new one.
It's gonna take them up out of here. It's gonna get them up out of here.
But see, Mike had given a specific supplement that you can use to block it. I want to say holy basil.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one.
Holy basil. Something.
Let me find this shit.
We could ask Enoch.
That's the Enoch shit. Yeah, I did ask Enoch about this Trump passes bill for glyphosate immunity. I did ask that about the glyphosate immunity. I could have it read this page real quick.
Okay.
Nigga Racha. They dropped something on y'all. Everybody getting sick out there.
Where?
In Detroit.
Oh.
I think a lot of people run around here sneezing and sniffling. And
I'm not in Detroit, so I don't know.
Really, nigga. And unusual. Here, I'm gonna put this front and center. Look at you.
Running past the lies with your bitch ass.
Oh no. Oh. Why is it like that? Is that your son?
Yeah. How you know? Turn that off.
What was that?
Kanye, I don't know. Who is that? I don't know.
I'm supposed to be looking for something.
The doctors.
Yeah, I know. Oh shit, there you go.
They instilled in us is to become dependent in our significant other to give us love, to become dependent on the financial system, to become dependent upon the government, to become dependent on somebody else. So we were talking about Maha and all this other stuff, and I was like, what about my ha? It's my health. Let's make yourself healthy again. That's what we really need to do.
You've always had permission to not eat crap. You've always had permission to refuse vaccines for your children.
What's the largest legal bribing industry telling your elected officials what to do in favor of their industry?
That's pharma.
It is big pharma by a lot. This is the problem.
I can't.
You can't even go to school without showing allegiance to being drugging your children. You have to have a vaccine schedule in your file to prove you're okay drugging your children with a big pharma product, all of you.
You don't have to look to the pharmaceutical companies over and over again to fix your problem. You're actually just making more problems.
Copper Goddess, what's fact at?
And getting in their systems.
What's going on with you? Huh?
Wake up, America. You're being drugged to death.
Welcome to today's interview here on Brighteon.com. I'm Mike Adams, and I love the guests that we have today, our 4 favorite doctors and experts, and they are the team that's put together a new program called Make Yourself Healthy Again, which is exactly the right message for this time in history when we realize that the institutions and the governments and all the corporations have failed, and the only way you're ever going to be healthy is to make yourself healthy again. So welcome, doctors, experts.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. Good to be on.
So awesome to have you here again. So let me get the introduction. Dr. Ed Group. Thank you so much for joining us, Ed. And from your most amazing room there, we've got Dr. Janice Schmidt, Dr. Brian Artis, and Dr. Henry Ely, 4 of our favorite people on the show. And again, the course is called Make Yourself Healthy Again. So Ed, let's start with you because I heard that you are credited with coming up with the name for this series. So you want to tell us about it a little bit?
Well, it's with all of the pain and the trauma and the suffering and the chaos that's happened in the last couple of years, you know, we just kept saying to each other, as we were offered positions with the new administration, you know, what is really the main priority here? What does God want? And God wants people to take responsibility.
Hey, that boy's super saucy. I was just knocking at the door again. What's wrong with your signal?
The phone fell.
Why is this doing that? All right.
I dropped the phone.
My man stepping on him, man.
For their own health and to stop relying and becoming dependent. See, that's what they instilled in us, is to become dependent in our significant other to give us happiness, to become dependent on the financial system.
That's your secret admirer right there, now you.
To become dependent upon the government, to become dependent on some, to create a balanced body, mind, and soul. And so we have in the future, and this is what I believe and we believe is telling us, is that the reason there's so much pain and trauma and suffering and chaos is because God is trying to wake and say, look, you have the ability to create your own happy and healthy bubble. You don't need to rely on anything outside of your external environment and your internal environment. So we were talking about Maha and all this other stuff, and I was like, what about my ha? It's my health. Let's make yourself healthy again. That's what we need to do, and we need to teach people all of the things that we've learned, all the things that you've learned over the last 30 years, combined hundreds of years, and empower people to be responsible for their own lives again, and empower them to take back their own health. And that's what the mission is moving forward, and that's what we're all about, and that's what this Healing for the Ages conference is all about, is to give you the tools, the strategies to create enlightenment in your life, create happiness again, create love again, and create health of the body, mind, and soul.
Absolutely. I love the way you stated that. And it's so critical at this moment in history that people people don't wait for government to give them permission to be healthy. I was laughing when RFK Jr., who again, I love his what he's trying to do, but he's working with a system that's totally corrupt. But when they announced, oh, we're going to take red dye out of the cereal, and I saw people actually selling, oh, I now have permission to not eat red dye. Yeah, you dumbass, you always had permission to not eat red dye. You didn't need to wait for RFK Jr. to tell you that, right? I mean, what are you waiting for, right? So, Dr. Ely, you're laughing. Give us, because I guess that resonates with you. Have you heard this from some people?
Yeah, when we were listening to that last year, we were all cracking up. It was like, you've always had permission to not eat crap. You've always had permission to refuse vaccines for your children.
Well, boy, that's another fucker, ain't he? Sheesh.
They look like they're related.
He's a wild child. He's a wild child.
But people just need this authority figure, to give them permission. So it's like, all right, well, if you need that, that's fine. But the reality, sadly, hasn't changed. Like, I think it was they modified the vaccine schedule a few weeks ago, right? And everybody was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in our lifetime, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, is the Arcturus 2304 still in production? Yep. Is the COVID shot still available? Yep. Are they still spraying us every day with chemtrails and all? Yep. Okay. Well, Forgive me for not being too excited and doing a cartwheel. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it resonates with me, Health Ranger.
Yeah, exactly. And so tell us, Dr. Ardis, you have been warning people for many years about, the venom peptides. You've been proven correct about that again and again. And we've now seen massive lawsuits against the companies that make the GLP-1 weight loss injectable drugs. And I'm not trying to make this gross, but one of the lawsuit plaintiffs said that driving home in her car from a softball game with her daughter, her colon exploded. Now, that sounds like a very bad side effect.
What?
But there are other people who claim they've gone blind, et cetera, from injecting these drugs. But doesn't it speak, Dr. Ardis, doesn't it speak to the desperation of people looking?
I remember me playing that when they were reporting the motherfuckers' colons was blowing out.
No.
Taking weight loss drugs. It was probably a week or two ago. Well, it was it before or after the 7-day ban? It might have been.
Oh, I remember, but I didn't remember their colons exploding. I thought their eyes were blowing up.
Looking for answers, they're just looking in the wrong direction.
I don't even know how to respond to that. I'm gonna just run and keep this shit playing.
Yeah, this is a big deal. A $2 billion lawsuit was filed against Novo Nordisk, the actual manufacturer of GLP-1 drugs called Ozempic and Wegovy, the two most branded in the world, being paid to be marketed to the world through social media to all the youngsters. There's no more obese, diabetic country in the world than America. And what are you being sold? That these new GLP-1 drugs, which have no GLP-1 in them whatsoever, they're just called GLP-1 drugs, that these drugs now have actually caused thousands of people within the last 5 years of it being FDA approved to wake up completely blind in one eye permanently for the rest of their life. And that's what makes up the majority of these lawsuits, a $2 billion lawsuit. Within the wake of that, then we're watching in the Oval Office from Denmark, the Novo Nordisk CEO is coming into the White House with Donald Trump, RFK Jr., and he just ironically passes out during the press conference. Like, I saw that. Literally collapses there. Yeah. And what was the whole meeting about? This is literally within a month or two of this $2 billion class action lawsuit being filed against Ozempic and Wegovy manufacturers, Novo Nordisk, for making people blind, making them develop thyroid cancer that they weren't asking for, gastroparesis, having a paralyzed stomach where they vomit now incessantly, cyclically every day, everything they swallow for years after even stopping this venom-laced drug. It's just destroying and wrecking lives all over the place. And then you got exploding colons I just learned about here. I mean, I don't know what more you need to know. This thing is dangerous, but what was the Oval Office press conference about? How it is we can make these deadly drugs cheaper for all Americans.
Right. And that's why we should never trust the system. the system is only going to favor big pharma. Period. Even Trump, even Biden, all of them. They're all
Can
the
I
same.
speak to why real quick?
Yeah, please.
Do you know who controls the decision makers that we elect into office in every city, state, county, every federal government agency? All of your elected officials are actually given legal bribe money. It's called lobbying dollars, and lobbying dollars, legal definition is bribes given to elected officials to make decisions that benefit their industry. Do you know what is the largest lobbying industry? Which has to be noted, written down by our government, IRS. What's the largest legal bribing industry telling your elected officials what to do in favor of their industry?
That's pharma.
It is big pharma by a lot. It is not, just for perspective, everybody, out there thinking AIPAC's the problem. How much money did AIPAC lobby our elected officials last year? $3 million. Do you know what big pharma did? $300 million. AIPAC is 1% of the amount of big pharma. So if you want to know why all your rights and freedoms were taken from you starting in 2020 per the Constitution, and then you were told you can only get those American rights back if you show us your allegiance with a card from big pharma called a vaccine card. That's a drug product. If you want to know why your rights and freedoms were stolen from you, and then your elected officials told you, show us proof that you bow your knee and head to the big pharma institutions, this is a problem. In fact, you can't even go to school without showing allegiance to drugging your children. You have to have a vaccine schedule in your file to prove you're okay drugging your children with a big pharma product, all of you.
Well,
you can't even be born in America without taking the hepatitis B vaccine. Wake up, America. You're being drugged to death.
No kidding. No kidding. And I was joking with a friend, but it turned out maybe it's not a joke. Can't wait for ICE agents to ask you for your vaccine papers. Dr. Schmidt, what's your take on all of this, and what do you say are the pillars of making yourself healthy again?
Right. Well, I was listening as you guys were talking about the lobbyists and the pharma. No wonder the natural remedies have been buried and stepped on and hidden. And when I tell people there are natural remedies that act on the body, actually increasing GLP-1, actually not poisoning your body, not paralyzing your stomach like the venom, not tricking your brain, like actually works very naturally. They're floored. Like, why haven't I heard of this? This is why. It's because it's being stomped on, trounced on by lobbyists, by the big pharma and all the money. So it's one of the things we're doing. We're getting the word out that there are natural God-given remedies that can take care of the body's needs, and you don't have to look to the pharmaceutical companies over and over again to fix your problem. You're actually just making more problems and getting in their system. So that's the pillars of Make Yourself Healthy Again, literally educating. It's education on how the body works then what's going on in our world. So you know how the body works and you're in tune to the body, you detox, you can listen to God, you can listen to your body, you can know what's happening, and you can do the same for your family and guide your kids. And then you look at what's happening in the world and educating on what is happening in the world. One of the things that I loved sharing at this Make Yourself Healthy was food. This is fuel for our body. It's information for our body. And we want to give our body information to thrive, not just survive. And so choosing the right food makes all the difference. And you need to know what irradiation is. You need to know what GMOs are. You need to know all of these things. But once you know, and you can really navigate this better. So it's really, they're really tools for life that you can utilize now, but also hand down to kids.
Yeah. Wow. That's very powerful. Let me tell our audience how they can connect with this course that you were just describing. Go to brightu.com and there you can register. February 21st, begin streaming. You can just register to watch it for free, or you can optionally purchase it and download it if you wish. And that helps support the Ages organization as well as our platform. But you're free to watch the episodes completely free. There's one episode that streams each day at brightu.com. That's the word bright followed by the letter U. So, okay. And, I apologize to all of you. I've every time we've had an interview like this, I've run it in kind of a rigorous format. And I didn't mean to do that. I'd like to have more of a free-form discussion where, anybody can jump in at any time and have more of a group talk. But who right now just wants to say something that's on your mind burning about what we've covered so far? Just jump in and let's just jump in more. Let's just, like we're all sitting in a room together, let's have a great talk.
Well, I think I'll just start it here. Okay, so one of the things I just want to speak on is what's the value of possibly going and downloading, getting access to this presentation of several days worth of information called Make Yourself Healthy Again? If you're wondering what's in there and what value's in there, Dr. Jana Schmidt did some incredible presentations about how to go shopping, how it is you should integrate yourself in the grocery store, how you should shop, what you should be looking for in your labels, what appeal really is, and why you should avoid it. She goes into all of that. And then Dr. Ed Group, he'll tell you about his incredible presentation. Nobody on earth could do it as well as he did, and it was phenomenal. I've heard it now twice, and it's better each time.
Oh, yeah.
So how it is we can introduce and magnify the frequency of love for the whole world through a basic principle God gave us and what he has brought forward from the Taoist traditions from ancient Chinese medicine. So you'll learn all about that from him here in a minute. So let me just give you one key valuable thing I think that all of you would be interested in. 100% of you, I don't care if you're just an alternative lover, you're a traditional medicine lover, it doesn't matter. If you love it, any of it, you are going to be confronted at some point, either by your employer, by an insurance company. They're going to say, we need a blood draw. Or you're going to be in the ER, they're going to ask for a blood draw. You're going to have a blood draw at some point in your life. There are 8 most common blood tests that are going to be run at a lab, like LabCorp Quest, by your medical doctor. And the medical doctor alone is going to interpret the actual findings on that test, on any of the 8. If you're wondering what value sits here for you, I can just tell you what one of them should be for you that you might want to consider. Do you know how to read a blood test? On day 1 of my presentations at Make Yourself Healthy Again for the Ages that you'll get here at Brighteon, I just want you to know, I went through day 1, the 8 most common blood tests and what every marker on that blood test means and which organ they are looking at could be signified as having problem, disease, or stress. So at least now you can interpret it for yourself. Day 2, Mike. Day 2, I think, was probably the hardest thing I've ever created, actually. I had to go into research studies and then provide evidence. The research study, the link, and then out of it, the quotes of what the dose of natural substances correct those blood figures that are out of normal range.
Wow.
And I show you the comparison of things like, for example, if you have high cholesterol, there's a lipid panel. You'll see total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL, and you'll see these out of balance. Now, what is your medical doctor, Mike Adams, Health Ranger, going to tell you traditionally, if any of these are high, out of range, what are they going to tell you to take?
I don't know, drugs. I mean, cholesterol drugs, diabetes drugs, statin drugs, right? Typically?
Yes. Statins are what they're going to recommend. It's going to be Lipitor, Crestor. These are your common statins. Well, did you know that there is one plant found in the Middle East and in India called the Camphor muckle tree, and it produces a sap called Google resin? Do you know head-to-head in every statin drug study to lower and normalize blood cholesterol levels, all of them, that none of the statin drugs ever correct or raise the good cholesterol called HDL. But when you take Google, it corrects not only the bad cholesterol, brings it back to normal range, it's also the only thing that corrects HDL cholesterol. And in every case, the medical research studies where they're giving humans cholesterol drugs called statins that are prescriptions, and then those they give Google resin extract to, I quote, Google resin is far superior in correcting cholesterol levels than statin drugs.
Wow. And real quick, that's also, isn't that spelled G-U-G-U-L?
It is G-U-G-G-U-L. Very good.
G-U-G-U-L. Okay, right.
So this is just an example of something God created in nature that is actually healthier for you. And I quote, there's never been a side effect reported. All you see is improvement in cholesterol numbers.
Wow.
And CRP, C-reactive protein. So I go through every biomarker. You're going to get a blood test at some point. They're going to tell you something's out of normal range. I show you every marker on day 2, and you can download the PDFs. It's available to you when you get this, how to make yourself healthy again. How powerful is it at home while you're waiting for your consult with your MD to review and interpret your blood test for you? We now give you the tool here to actually go through your entire blood test, know what it represents before you even meet with your medical professional, and what the natural proven antidotes are and the doses. It was a very huge lift, but it's an incredible tool. I think will be valuable for all of you.
I love that. Okay, so that's day 2. So that's going to be February 22nd that episode airs. And that's free like every other episode. But wow, you're such an amazing researcher, Dr. Artis. Also, I mean, you really dig deep into all of this. You did with the venom peptides. So I can't wait. I got to watch that myself. That's going to be extremely valuable. Wow. So who else wants to jump in with what's in the course and your contributions to it? Dr. Ely?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big thing that we've seen, and it's just exploded in the conversation, is on chemtrails. We are seeing everybody talking about what's going on. It's got to be somewhat satisfying as much as it is disappointing for Dane Wigington, and all the work that he's done over all those years. But now everybody's having this conversation finally about the aluminum that's in the sky, the barium that's in the sky, the strontium. And, for us, we were able to confirm that in sweat samples. I was just on with Dr. Lee Merritt last night, and we were going through these results, that we have here on the sweat samples and on the urinary samples of what's actually coming out on days where there's no chemtrails versus days that there are chemtrails. And one of the conversations that we've seen coming up a lot, Health Ranger, now is that people, when they see chemtrails, they're starting to equate it to their moods being off and them feeling a little bit off. And it's like, correct. Think about it just simply like this. The chemtrail forms. You now have all of this skyfall of aluminum. Let's just focus on aluminum. You're breathing it in nano sizes, something that Dr. Groove and I and Dr. Artis and Dr. Jen have been talking about for a couple of years now with quantum dots and these kind of smart dust and everything. And you're breathing it in. Well, you have to stop for a second and go, well, why are they putting chemtrail in the sky? They're putting the chemtrail in the sky so that they can use their frequency bioweapons, the 5G, the 6G, the next rad, to push the jet stream up or push the jet stream down and start modifying the weather patterns.
Yeah.
So if you've breathed that aluminum in, and we have conclusive evidence that, yes, it's coming out in your sweat. Yes, it's coming out in your urine right after the chemtrails.
Yep.
If you've breathed that in and now they turn on the next rad and they turn on 5G to push the jet stream, it's pushing on your body too.
Oh,
and that's that subtle energy that now you start feeling a little bit off, a little depressed. You can't explain why you're a little dour and why you're a little hopeless, with what's going on in the world. But it's because you have brought that aluminum into your body. So we give concrete, proven solutions on how to get that stuff out using things like boron, which Global Healing in conjunction with Dr. Richard Ulrey have a beautiful product that we've tested and confirmed it works to get aluminum out of the body, and also simple things like a near infrared or far infrared sauna. We've proven this now that it gets it out. And the people who are doing this are able to have greater resiliency against those chemtrail days and the spooling up of the 5G. So this is part of that make yourself healthy again that we're presenting. And that's what I presented on Saturday, was our research and our solutions. This is where Dr. Jana really coined it for us. Our celebration of solutions, so that you don't have to see that chemtrail and feel like there's nothing I can do about it. No, you see the chemtrail and you know exactly what you have to do when you see it every single time.
We have to constantly be in detox mode as a routine thing. I've actually heard that there are so many metals now in the bodies of Americans that President Trump is going to start mining graveyards for rare earths. How about that? Yeah. Okay. Bad joke. But that's how desperate they are for rare earths. So they're in the people. They're in the people. It's better than Soylent Green. Look, it's got neodymium and dysprosium and aluminum all in these people. But seriously, that might not be a joke in 10 years, so don't laugh too hard. But I'm sorry. You know me. I get a little off the rails from time to time.
And everybody should be detoxing regularly. It used to be, a parasite cleanse every year or twice a year, like parasite, heavy metal. We should be doing some kind of detox all the time. I think all of us are usually cycling in and out of, whether it's a liver detox or, pineal detox. I think that everyone needs to really focus on finding their rhythm with detox constantly.
Totally. All right, I'm going to do something. I'm going to play some footage for the audience. You won't see it right now, just some B-roll while I'm talking, but we've opened up our new laboratory. We're finding some really creepy things. We have a whole new room called the Fauci room where we grow, we test for listeria, all kinds of microbiology. We've named it the Fauci room. It's hilarious. And then what we're really finding right now, though, we are launching microplastics investigations of off-the-shelf products. And we've already nailed down the whole procedure with the right dyes, the right wavelengths of excitatory light to make them glow, filtering them out and putting them under the microscope and everything. We're going to be showing this to the public here very soon. We are finding shocking levels of microplastics in certain grocery store products. I don't want to name anything yet, but I just want your reaction to that. So like no other lab that I know of is willing to do this work to really show how toxic the mainstream food supply actually is. We are willing to do it, and we're going to take some heat for it. But what's your reaction? Anyone who wants to step in here, maybe Ed, because you're the king of detox. I mean, you've mastered detoxification better than anybody I know. What do you say about microplastics?
I say it's a big concern. We've been talking a lot about the microplastic contamination, where people are literally eating a credit card worth of plastic a week now, probably even more than that. It's in the food supply. I think it goes back, even if you look at the Department of Energy's research, which we talked about this for the first time, we presented this at Healing for the Ages, is the genetic modification. This goes back to the creation of the venoms with the E. coli and the modified yeast. One of the strange things that we discovered when we were looking at that research is not only were they using yeast, genetically modified yeast, to produce different types of venom peptides, but they also could genetically modify yeast to produce microplastics in the body.
What?
So, yes. And I'll be happy to send that. Yes, absolutely. They can produce styrene, they can produce plastic. And so I really believe with I think it goes back, even if you look at the Department of Energy's research, which we talked about this for the first time, we presented this at Healing for the Ages, is the genetic modification. This goes back to the creation of the venoms with the E. coli and the modified yeast. One of the strange things that we discovered when we were looking at that research is not only were they using yeast, genetically modified yeast, to produce different types of venom peptides, but they also could genetically modify yeast to produce microplastics in the body.
What?
So
I was just about to say
polymers. Yes, absolutely. They can produce styrene, they can produce plastics, and so I really believe with
that's like embalming. You're being embalmed internally.
Right.
What?
Yeah, that was in the report that we released, which was the real Trojan horse is yeast, and it's the C. cerevisiae. They're using the brewer's yeast mostly in the PFAS stores to create many things, even producing metals and producing plastics and producing styrofoam and styrene and compounds and all kinds of chemicals. And it's
what did you eat that you are crapping styrofoam?
Well, think about, Mike,
is that a side effect of the GLP-1? Is that why her colon exploded? She was making styrofoam?
Well,
I'm sorry.
We all know that there's a huge epidemic of yeast right now, right? You have people that you can't watch a show on TV, which I don't watch TV, but every now and then I'll turn it on just to see what they're doing. I swear, every 15 seconds there's somebody drinking alcohol.
Really?
Put on any TV show and you'll see people drinking alcohol every 15 seconds, and or every 20 or 30 seconds. This dates back to the 60s. If you know how I like to do the research and track everything back, when they purposely got everybody addicted to alcohol and addicted to sugar. Why? Now you have to ask the question, why did they get everybody addicted to sugar and alcohol? In the future, now we know that majority of the individuals out there have mold toxicity, they have yeast toxicity. They have identified over 85 different types of candida. You have the genetically modified yeast, because beer contains genetically modified C. cerevisiae brewer's yeast. Bread contains genetically modified C. cerevisiae brewer's yeast. The USDA in 2018 put out a memorandum telling all of the cattle, even organic, to start supplementing the hay and the feed with this genetically modified yeast, C. cerevisiae. So that means all the cattle have this genetically modified yeast, producing spike proteins, producing venoms, producing metals, plastics, all this stuff in their system. And that means us as humans, we just keep feeding it. And now everybody's liver is full of yeast that needs to be detoxified. just to let everybody know what we found works the best. There wasn't natural products out there to kill brewer's yeast, right? Because we used to recommend nutritional yeast as a nutritional supplement. I mean, I can remember saying, yeah, you need some nutritional yeast in your diet. And I'm not saying that it's all bad now. There's still, some strains, some ancient heirloom strains available, but we had to actually look and do the research on what is it that can kill this genetically modified brewer's yeast. And lo and behold, black seed oil with cinnamon bark oil added into it.
Oh, yeah.
Cinnamon oil worked really well. So we actually searched for 2 years around the world, tested all the black seed oil, tested all of the different types of components in there, and then launched our own black seed with cinnamon bark oil, and it's been working extremely well.
See, that's amazing. And that's, the cinnamon bark is right out of Chinese medicine, as you well know. You've been studying. I just want to say, too, my smoothie today, this has black seed oil in it, as well as your product, Form Protein Cleanse, which is, I think that's my favorite product from your group, is the Form Protein Cleanse. And, I just don't get sick anymore. Ever since COVID, I never get sick because I'm always taking, lobelia. I'm doing all the right things that we have all learned that we talk about, and I'm doing a Chinese herb called what is it? Du zhong, I think, is eucommia bark is the English word for that, right? And ba jiao, which is star anise, shikimic acid, right? As you know, Dr. Artist, that defends against everything, but I just want our audience to recognize, look at me and look at the four of you. If you want to be healthy, do the things that we are talking about, because we are literally among the healthiest people in modern society. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying we've figured it out, and you're about to get access to all of that through this AGES conference. So just go to brightu.com and register, and you can learn all these secrets completely free. All you have to do is register your email and then start tuning in on Saturday, February 21st, and you'll be able to watch the whole program or download it and purchase it if you wish. So, all right, who wants to have the floor next?
I just have to say that just talking about it again, I want to join and watch these three gentlemen do their presentations again. They were fascinating. I don't think once is even enough. I just can't say enough amazing things, and sing their accolades. They're brilliant, and I think everybody needs to know the information that they're sharing.
Yeah, you are, all of you. You're brilliant researchers, but it's more than that. It's you have the courage to ask the tough questions and to explore answers that are going to get pushed back, right? And every one of us have experienced that. Can you talk about that, Dr. Ely? Just the fact that you've stood your ground all this time. Whatever the weather is, whatever the pandemic is, you've stood your ground. You have principles. You've taught people principles that keep them healthy. But whatever happens out there in the world comes and goes, and doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to the principles that you are teaching. You want to speak to that?
I think it's the cream always rises to the top, right? And I think the thing that we all have in common, all five of us, on this is that we weren't willing to sell our principles for any price.
That's right.
That we were going to say what needed to be said, and come what might, come what may. If that meant that we were going to get mowed down by the cult of Asclepius, well, then we were going to get mowed down by the cult of Asclepius. But it was going to be standing on that mountain of truth that we stood on. And I think what's so fun now, Health Ranger, and I know you've done this for 30 years, is you just go back and you start seeing all the things that you've been right about, and especially when people try to challenge you on something, you're like, hold on, let me go get my list of things that I've been right about. I was right about this. I was right about this. I was right about this. And the thing that's so cool about it is we were right about it in real time.
Yes.
And we were right about it in real time because we had the courage to ask the question, because we had the courage to go in and look at the data.
My man's like, he got a mega great grandpappy or something.
Because we had the courage to research and say, this is not passing the smell test, that wonderful whiff test we have and we learn when we're in medical school. This ain't passing the whiff test right now. And then when we start sharing that, we took so much heat from everybody. I mean, you got to imagine being a natural doc out there. We're not only taking heat just from the public because what we're saying is unpopular, and we've been, of course, the ND means not a doctor and all that other stupid stuff that they say. We're taking heat from people in our profession. Dr. Artis took a ton of heat when he first got started with it. And it was appalling to go into these groups and to look at Nobel laureates and big names. So of course, it's always the big names, and see just how inadequate, Health Ranger, not only their education was, but the thing that was really disappointing for me was their critical thinking.
Right.
How inadequate their critical thinking. When we come together, it's like, oh my God, you know how to think. This is great. We're going to have some wonderful times.
Exactly. And I would say, Dr. Ely, also, we are winning. We are winning big time. Let me give you one example, and then maybe Dr. Artis, you can respond to this. But I recently interviewed sort of a mainstream corporate guy, a big name author in the business world, famous for exponential growth. His name is Salim Ismail. He's Indian ethnically, but he's Canadian and American now. And he and I absolutely agreed, even though he's not from the world of natural health. But by the end of the interview, we were talking about how the Western medical system is collapsing and has to be replaced because it's totally obsolete. And he said, yes, absolutely. The medical system is toast. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. It doesn't work. It has to be replaced. And actually, AI information that bypasses censorship and decentralizes knowledge, which is an area where I'm working very diligently on like AI health freedom. That's a big part of this as well, just getting people access to things that have been censored this entire time. But my point is, Dr. Artis, that even sort of mainstream corporate people who are hired by Procter & Gamble, and this guy, even he did work for the Vatican and big nonprofits, et cetera. Even people like him are saying Western medicine is done. Isn't that something?
It is something. I've actually spent the last year being invited to be on Fox News radio shows most mornings and each month for the last year or so, and it's been very exciting to do those. You know what the number one topic has been that they want me to talk on?
What?
All over the country. Number one is Kaiser Permanente surveys and the results from their October 2024 surveys of hospital workers in America. And it was 500,000 workers, Mike. The question was, are you up to date on your COVID-19 vaccine boosters for 2024?
Really?
Hospital staff workers, are you up to date on your flu vaccines? And I would like to tell you, as you are saying, you're seeing the collapse of this traditional medical model, the system that is broken. They were shocked for the results and had to do a follow-up survey questionnaire. Okay, what was the answer? For flu vaccines, not related to COVID-19 boosters, they said, how many of you are up to date on flu vaccines? And all hospital workers, nurses, included pharmacists, administrators, it is required of you to have flu vaccines every year, annually. Or you have to wear a mask. That's what they tell you forever. I've known this for 30 years. Okay, did you know that the answer to Kaiser Permanente's survey of 500,000 American hospital workers in 2024 was 30% of them were up to date on the flu vaccine?
Oh, wow. Wow. Only 30.
The second question was, how many of you are up to date on your COVID-19 boosters? You know what the number was? 17% said they were up to date. So then there was a follow-up questionnaire. They wanted to know, why are the traditional, conventional medical hospital workers not getting the flu vaccine as normal? And why is there 83% of you are saying you're electing not to get the COVID-19 boosters? And do you know what their answers were? Because of the fallout of the inefficiency of the COVID-19 vaccines and the injuries we had to take care of, we now question and doubt all vaccines. So we've elected not to get the flu vaccine and this one. Now, what you see in the media is not that narrative, but this is what's been very exciting, is to watch that those that are in the swamp of the medical profession, even they are recognizing this crap ain't working, man. And it's not what we're being sold. They are not safe and effective. They are creating a massive fallout. And then did y'all see what was published last year about the flu vaccines? Amazing. They found that at Johns Hopkins University, the med school, they published that those who got the flu vaccines, there was a 27% increase in infections of the flu in those vaccinated versus those that were not.
Not surprised.
Amazing.
Not surprised. Again, I mean, none of us, we don't take any vaccines.
Nope.
And we almost never get sick. or maybe just have a few symptoms, but then we know how to treat that with natural medicine. But that's a really great point, Dr. Artis. Okay, floor is open. Who wants to jump in?
I'll jump in because it is vital. I mean, people watch and they pay for all kinds of different educational material. They go to different conferences. I'm going to say that it's vital for everybody to watch this Healing for the Ages, this MyHA presentation, this replay. One of the reasons is these great doctors here presented all this information, but for the first time in 6 years, I presented brand new information that nobody has ever heard about before, Mike, because the 6 years I spent traveling around and reading and trying to get as much ancient knowledge on healing as I possibly could, meeting with grandmasters, Tibet and Nepal and ancient Taoism, and coming up and studying what these ancient methods were doing. I just asked myself the question 6 years ago, why are we studying things that are in the last 150 years? Why are we not like digging deep and finding the secrets that these ancient healers were using for all these generations? And so dating back, the oldest book I could find was 12,000 years ago. And so in 12,000 years ago, they defined women as the garden of love, and they defined men as the gardener of love. And back then, the women had these golden auras around them. It's talked about in the books. And the men had golden auras too, but the women were the ones that were birthing life in. And it talks about, and by the way, this has been proven, like if you want healing technologies that have been proven over and over again for thousands of years, but these were the closely guarded secrets eventually by the elite, because in the old days they were matriarchal societies. The women actually ran, and there were times of peace and joy, and there was happiness, and there was what they called divine love. I'm not talking about oh, I love you, honey. Yeah, I love you too, honey. I mean, that's fine. That's physical love. But all of these ancient texts, when I put all the pieces together, were about creating divine love. And these ancient societies used sacred lovemaking, okay? I'm not talking about sex, I'm talking about love making, which would create the vibration and frequency of love within the male and the female, because the male is the positive and the female is the negative. And all of these techniques were used for immortality. They were used for healing. They were used to increase the aura. They were used for the vibration. After I spent 6 years, not only, one thing about all of us, right? We don't just talk about this stuff, we actually practice it, okay? So I'll practice something for years and years and try it out on myself to see if it works. And same with all of the great doctors here. We've talked last year so much about how we've been to all these conventions and all these doctors are getting up on stage. And I'm looking out over 1,000 chiropractors at a chiropractic convention in the audience, and 98% of the healers are overweight and sick. Go look around. All these doctors that are trying to teach you about health, they're all sick, they're all overweight. We have to do something about that, or they have to do something about that. But nobody has talked about this ever, Mike. I've got enough evidence right now. There was a few things that these ancient people used that had the most power. Why do you think they lived to 300 years old, 600 years old? I read stories about some individuals living to 2,500 years old. They were using sacred lovemaking. They were using gold. All these ancient societies actually consumed gold. And it wasn't colloidal gold. It was biophotonic gold. Gold is something that we contain in our urine and something that's contained in the semen. None of these individuals back in the ancient times would let their seed, they called it the seed of life, the divine elixir, which is their semen, they never would let it out. And this led me, so the things that they would work on were the sacred lovemaking, gold, the consumption of gold, the meditation, and the urine, and then the movement. They would always move their body. They believed if you kept your spine moving and your body moving, it would increase and it would push the energy all around. That led me, when I started reading about how to generate, and in the ancient text, Mike, they talk about women will always search for divine love, right? Because they're the gardener of love. And the only person that can open up a woman to divine love is a male. This is all talked about in the ancient text. But and these are the male has to be inside the woman, and he has to do special techniques, and they opens up the heart, and the woman will feel divine love, and they will both go into meditation, and they will experience the kingdom of heaven within. And I'm like, what? This was written about in the ancient Taoism. It was written about in ancient India, which later became Tantra, but the modern day Tantra is not what the actual sacred lovemaking was in the old days. And this is then I started looking, well, what has happened? What has gone on in society these days? 150 years ago, they created sex, and then they started working with porn. They started massacring, circumcising men. They started cutting the women's breasts. In the ancient days, the breasts were always considered the master glands of women. The master glands that controlled everything, that fed the baby. The breast milk came out, and they have techniques of how you can stimulate these, how you can repair all the endocrine organs. The biggest, this is just shocking to me. Like, we talk about the damaging effects that the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and these individuals have had on the world. Until you start looking in to the lovemaking and the sex and how they turned, they knew these were only reserved for the elite, right? These techniques. They did the exact opposite and made it this rough and fast situation that we're all into, that create negative energy and create disease. And they created all this through porn. And now they have men that are ejaculating, 3 or 4 times a day and getting rid of the vital life force and creating this negative energy, these negative things that people are living with. The amount of information that I found, that I talk about, you don't want to miss this, about how society has been misled and gone into the opposite direction when you're talking about love, you're talking about happiness, you're talking about joy, about a balance of the body, mind, and soul. How many people, and all the doctors, well, you'll know this too, how many people have you talked to, patients that you've talked to, and you ask the question, have you ever had any sexual trauma in your life? And 98, 99% of every single person out there will tell you, I've had some form of sexual trauma in my life. This was done on purpose. In the ancient days, they would talk about, if a woman sleeps with a man, she holds the energy of every man she sleeps with for 7 to 12 years, okay? And women do not want this fast, hard, situation going on. It's traumatic to their system, to their feminine system. They want, and they will continue to search for a guy that can open that up and let them feel the divine love. Now, I came out and started talking about urine therapy. Mike, you know me, I'm always talking about the most craziest stuff out there. But we are living in a society where the men have become feminine and the women have become masculine. And all that happens because of what they've done and what they've taught people, the wrong ways of lovemaking, and not how to activate these energy fields within the body to expand the organ. Why is that important? Because all in the ancient texts, they talk about the largest organ is the aura. Why did that disappear 150 years ago? We are in the age of transformation. We're in the age of enlightenment. We're in the age of light and sound and biophotons. We've been talking about it for years, but now people are finally waking up to it. This is what we are, okay? Biophotons of light, which is created by sound. There's no more powerful way to enhance that unless you're looking at utilizing meditation, urine, prayer, having that connection and getting back to sacred lovemaking. We got to get the men and the female back to where we are. Do you know right now 20% of the males date 80% of the women? It's crazy. These are all sacred techniques that are free of charge, okay? We talk about sweating, we talk about grounding, we talk about sun gazing, we talk about all these things that were used actually for the most powerful healing modalities. But there was nothing in the ancient text, Mike, nothing that could heal the body, the mind, and the soul faster than creating the frequency of divine love. That's why it's talked about so much. So you don't want to miss this show. We're going to be talking about how women can activate their divine feminine. We're going to be talking about how men can activate their divine masculine. We're talking about what happens when the male and the female come together. We're going to talk about the inner smile. We're going to talk about how you can heal any disease by coming together with a male and a female and generating the energy and the vibration needed to bring that energy and vibration up to the point where your body, your mind, and your soul is balanced and you're healing any condition. We talk about how to create sacred urine. After a lovemaking session, I tell men are suffering from premature ejaculation. They're suffering from erectile dysfunction. What are they on? They're on medicines for that. We have to get back to the ancient methods, the methods that were taught of semen retention, not celibacy, semen retention, generating the energy, not allowing your life force to be out. They used to calculate how many times you ejaculate in days with your lifespan. Every time you ejaculate, you're pushing out your seed, your divine energy, your divine love. So what we're teaching in this course and what we're continually teaching is why and how we can come back to that resonant frequency of divine union between the male and female, and the male interacts with the female for healing the body, mind, and soul, and the female interacts with the male for healing the body, mind, and soul. It's fascinating. What I've learned in the last 6 years, Mike, is just completely blown me away. And I'll be taking a trip this year again to ancient China to talk to some more of the masters, and I'll be in Tibet and Nepal. And it's just absolutely amazing when you start learning these ancient techniques and what they can do for the body. And we're talking about balancing out energy, right? And this is energy warfare that we're in now with the 5G towers, with the nanotechnology that's in everybody's body. These are the ways that you can neutralize and protect all your cells, protect all of your aura in your body, strengthen it all. There's nothing that can overpower God's love. And these techniques were used not only for the body, mind, and soul, but were used to bring you to this level of consciousness and spirituality, which in my opinion, we're all here to become enlightened beings, to become closer to God, to be able to activate and experience the kingdom of heaven within.
Well, you're blowing people's minds with that segment, but that's another reason why people can't miss this program. But I also want to contrast everything you just said there, Ed, and that was a beautiful description of your journey and what you're learning and what you're sharing with people. I want to contrast that with the fact that these Epstein files have been released by the DOJ. So we've never had a stronger contrast of the weaponization of the sexploitation or sexual violence against innocents as a means of controlling humanity, compared to what you just described, which is love making as a mechanism to humanity. That contrast has never been more clear than right now, right?
That's what it's all about, and that's why they changed everything around. The elites knew about these ancient methods, and that was one of there's two things really, in my opinion, that created the most damage to society. One is religion, and the other one is the sacred lovemaking, and what they changed into effing and sex, because that completely ruins your sexual centers. Are always down there. It's the highest level of energy, and that's what they went after those two things. And there's nothing more damaging than what they've taught. And we don't talk about sex, and our kids are not learning about the proper way of lovemaking, and they're not learning about the energy involved and the vibration involved and how that was used. See, they used to they figured this out. These yogis and all these spiritual masters would sit in these caves for months and even years to access the kingdom of heaven. And then they realized as they were going up, you need the positive and the negative. We're together. Why do you think God created the male and the female? And then they started doing these practices where they were doing breathing exercises, and they were coming together with the female, and they were utilizing the energy because the female has all her reflexology points within the first 2 inches of what they call her yoni, and the male also, the head of his penis is the positive polarity of a magnet, and the negative polarity is in the female. And when you connect those magnets together, it's creates a charge, and especially when you're chest, and that charge goes through the whole body, and it opens up that feeling of divine love. And so what have they tried to do? Back then in the ancient days, they would do lovemaking sessions for 2 or 3 hours at a time. It wasn't fast. It was actually the opposite. It was very slow. There was touching, there was breathing, and it was activating energy. And then they would go into meditation. They found that instead of having to sit in a cave for months at a time, if they went through a sacred lovemaking process and they balanced out the feminine and the masculine energies, because everything's in the yin and the yang, right? You can't have a male and you can't have a female. It just will not work. The energies won't connect. You can never open that gate of divine love. And then when they open those gates, and I've done this myself, and I can talk because I've been practicing this for the last few years. I've had these experiences. When you do that, you're opening. You go in. They would go into meditation, and instead of them having to sit for in a cave, you can accomplish the same thing in a couple hours. Wow. Because that's the divine energy, the divine feminine and masculine coming together.
Well, I can't wait for AI to summarize that segment. It's going to OnlyFans is not the path to longevity, turns out. Amen. But thank you for that. Who wants to follow that courageous monologue? Right, well,
you just got to watch it. It's amazing. He's going to introduce you to some books that are introductory for you. The Tao of Sexology, which I own and have read through, and it's an amazing thing. And oh my God, it has enhanced. I mean, literally healing process of people. This is make yourself healthy again. I told Ed, this improves if you study the power of healthy sexual practices. These powers that are generated when you connect the male and the female literally can cure diseases. And they have talked about this for years. So if you're doing anything else or abstaining from all of it for any other reason, from trauma maybe in your life, there's a way of actually healing using these very sacred lovemaking principles. I actually pulled Ed behind the stage and I said, in a world where they are pummeling us with hate 24/7, I cannot think of a more God-given narrative to Dr. Ed Group to bring this forward over the last 6 years, how we can change the hate being permeated through the psyche of the consciousness of the entire world and humanity, that introduce the power in our own homes and in our own families and in our own relationships to generate the frequency of love around the world. And I'm absolutely convinced, after studying and learning from Dr. Ed Group, this is one of the ways out of this deplorable, dark age period we find ourselves in that's just full of hate and polarization and division. Personally, it's a beautiful thing. I think all of you should really enjoy learning from Dr. Ed Group.
To the audience, we just had a little glitch that just happened right there, but we're back and we're going to be wrapping this up shortly. But I want to give credit to everybody here because, one of the key things that you really turned me on to was also photo activation of nutrition, and that's actually what got me to start exercising outside exclusively because I want the sunshine. And so in my smoothie, right, I always have turmeric. And I have other, photoactivated nutrients. So, I drink my smoothie and then I go out and I exercise. And the thing is, and this is funny, I don't mind sharing it, but I try to get as much sunlight on my skin as possible. So also, I like to, because I speak Chinese, but I like to increase my fluency in Chinese. So I always, if you were to find me on my ranch, I'm basically jogging in my underwear and my tennis shoes and speaking Chinese along the path. And that's actually healthy. Exercising your mind, getting sunshine all over your skin as much as possible, being active and things like that. And why is that considered weird by most people? You know what I mean? It's like, no, this is perfect. I'm out here to exercise my body and my brain and to connect with, God's sun, the actual son of God in the sky. This should be the most Christian thing in the world. But any of your comments on that, Jana?
Yeah,
or anyone?
I'll go for it, Dr. J.
I 100% agree with you. I feel like modern Christianity has gotten so far away from natural things. When I talk about grounding, they think it's woo woo, hippy dippy. Like, no, this is literally God's medicine. And I feel like it's gotten so far away from it. And it's just incredible to see it turn back, where people realize that these are God-given tools that we need for our body. So I love that you're doing this. I love that you're exercising outside and in your mind and body. This is the way everyone should be starting their day. And there's so many different ways to do that. It's not just one way. Rising with the sun, watching the sun go down, reducing electronics. So the more natural we can live, the more we can eat closer to God, the more our bodies are going to resonate. The longer we're going to live, the more healthy we're going to be. And then the stronger we're going to be to protect us against the bioweapons that are here.
Absolutely. And I just real quickly that I believe that your brain learns more quickly when you add body movement to the cognitive information, right? So I'm able to just really remember new vocabulary just right instantly. Anybody else? I mean, I want to give each of you a chance to kind of wrap up our talk here today. So
Yeah, I'll jump in because I'm going to go do the same thing, Mike. As soon as we're done here, I'm taking off all the clothes except for the shortest shorts, and I'm going to getting on my bike and going to let the sun hit me after I put in all my nutrients and everything. And let's do the whole photo dynamic and everything like that. But I think one thing that we also want to make sure we mention to everybody, and we did cover it in the conference, and we've covered it in every conference, is the vast importance of fasting. I just finished a 9-day fast last week. Dr. Group has done extended fasts. Dr. Artis, Dr. J, we've all done extended fasts. And you understand that when you start moving from 3 to 6 days, you really cap off all of the physical that you can get. But when you get beyond 6 days, now you start stepping into the spiritual, and you start stepping into a closer, clearer conversation with your creator that is just absolutely phenomenal. I got tons of downloads last week, especially in days 7, 8, and 9, about what needs to be taught, where we're going, everything like that, and how it needs to be taught. I was told last week it's time for us to start listening to the magnetic fields. So I put my ear to an N52 magnet, and yes, you can hear the magnetic field, and you can hear the different frequencies within the magnetic field. So it comes back to what we've all been saying. It comes down to light, and it comes down to frequency, and it comes down to sound. But in order to get there, we got to get the body clean first in order to be able to receive that higher level of medicine that's just really at our fingertips and free whenever we want. So that's a bigger message within it. And that sets up the love making. Now you can make that 528 hertz harmonic with another human being, and how special of an experience that. I was talking to some students last week about what resonance is. When you start putting frequencies together and they combine, and then the amplitude rises. And what is that? And I said, the easiest way to understand it is, have you ever been in love? Yes, I've been in love. Then you've felt what resonance truly is, and the healing power of what love can be.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Artis?
All right, so let's leave with a bang. Ready? I haven't even shared this with the ages group yet, but I did actually dive into a research study that I was very excited about. And just bringing this back full circle to this interview, most of you out there are hearing about Make America Healthy Again, the MAGA group. This is how we're presenting. The government's not going to save you. It's not going to make you healthier. It's your decisions that make it. All right, so what's the number 1, number 2, number 3 thing they correlate, or the number 1 causes of death, disease, illness in America? Obesity is always intertwined with heart disease and cancer. So obesity, diabetes, and you're going to be told that you need, right now, the number 1 thing you're going to be told is you need either microdosing or full dosing of GLP-1 drugs. So to bring this full circle here, I would like to share with you guys the conclusions of a study found about 2 weeks ago. Can I read them to you, Health Ranger? All right, here we go. This is out of nature.com, which is a very reputable online published medical journal on site. All right, so the title of the article reads, this is a research study published October 2024. Anybody out there wondering if Ozempic, Wegovy, semaglutide, any dosing of venom is good for you? The title of this research study reads, "The risk of depression, anxiety, and suicidal behavior in patients with obesity on GLP-1 drugs, specifically semaglutide," which is Ozempic and Wegovy. I would like to read to you, understand this, everybody who's obese and diabetic. You can't cure your condition. You're not losing weight no matter what you try. You've been told by Oprah Winfrey it's genetic. There's nothing you can do about weight gain now. You need these drugs. Okay, I want you to understand something. It's depressing and creates a lot of anxiety for people who suffer with obesity and diabetes. So they are often reaching for these drugs. I need to read to you the result, and I quote, The study included 162,253 patients. The studies showed a significant association between GLP-1 receptor agonist treatment, semaglutide, Ozempic and Wegovy, and check out these numbers, everybody, and a 98% increased risk of any psychiatric disorders.
Whoa.
Wow.
Hold up. Notably, patients on semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy exhibited a 195% higher risk of major depression from the drug, a 108% increased risk of anxiety, and a 106% elevated risk for suicide behavior, Health Ranger. End
I'm
quote.
seeing that. I mean, basically, these are suicide drugs.
Ask your doctor if suicide, anxiety, and depression are right for you, and if you're deficient in Gila monster venom, and that's why you're fat and diabetic.
Okay, wait. Is this the study right here? Is this it on Nature.com? The risk of depression, anxiety, and suicidal behavior in patients.
That is the drug. Scroll down in the abstract and look at the title. You'll see it right there.
A
It's in there.
98%
Read it.
increased risk of psychiatric disorders, 108% increased risk for anxiety, 106% elevated risk for suicidal behavior. Well, you know, I guess, hey, if your colon exploded, you might want to kill yourself. I mean, it's possible. Maybe just don't use these drugs in the first place. I don't mean to make light of it, but my
but
God.
guess what, Health Ranger? Everybody out there, anybody interested in anxiety disorders, major depression disorder, and suicide behavior, you would like to try to kill yourself and think more about that. Donald Trump just announced in the Oval Office 2 months ago, he's going to reduce how much it costs to get it.
Well, you know, that's so there's not inflation in suicide, right? So that way the CPI, the cost, what would the CPI be? The cost of personal incendiation would be lowered or something. It's crazy. It's a crazy world. That's why I'm so glad that all of you are here to help bring some sanity back to all of this. And thank you for that, Dr. Artis. I'm going to read that study this evening.
Listen, Mike, this is what's crazy. They actually tell you a 98% increase in any psychiatric disorder.
Wow.
Okay, can you name some of those? Schizophrenia, bipolarism, OCD. That's what they're telling you.
Which
you
need
inject
other
this stuff
drugs
inside of
then.
you.
Yeah.
Ask your doctor if schizophrenia is right for you. Hallucinations, delusions, it might be just right for you.
Body dysmorphia?
How about that? Bring it up.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Well, it's clear that the establishment does not have your health in their interests at all. And the only way to get healthy is to make your own good decisions, make yourself healthy again. And that's the title of this extraordinary program, as you've heard just some teasers here today. But you can watch this for free. It begins February 1st at brightu.com. All you have to do is go there and register for this now. Register with your email, and it runs all the way through March 8th with a new episode each day on a 24/7 loop that's streaming. So you can check that out. You can also opt it. And look, I just want to say, this is extraordinary. All four of you keep upping the game here every single time. You're blowing my mind every time we talk. So great job. Amazing. Yeah.
Thanks for having us on. We love you too, Mike.
Absolutely. Thanks. We love you, Mike, for sure.
We're all on a journey of teaching people how to heal. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for your time today.
God bless you all. Health Ranger, we love you.
We love you too. Take care. All right, there you go. Just an extraordinary group of pioneers in healing, natural medicine, and also the courage to tell the truth and the courage to explore, and then to share that with you through this program and their own sites and their own work and their own books and so much more. So, wow, what an incredible interview. Thank you for listening today. I'm Mike Adams, the Health Ranger here at Brighteon.com. And wow, share this interview anywhere you'd like. And I will also have, by the way, I'm going to have an article based on this interview that'll be appearing at naturalnews.com. And we're also going to include this interview as reference material in our AI engine that is brightanswers.ai. Let me just bring that up. That's always free to use. Where did it go here? Here it is, brightanswers.ai, knowledge without censorship. This interview will be indexed along with all the other interviews that I've had with all of these people Those are part of the deep research engine at brightanswers.ai, which is free to use. So enjoy it, and thank you for watching today. Take care, everybody.
Stock up on the long-term storable Ranger Bucket Set. 536 servings of clean organic superfoods for your survival pantry. Certified organic and lab tested for purity. Order now at healthrangerstore.com.
Mine's about to fall out.
Me too. What you say?
Said nigga about to pass out. I said go night night nigga. That's easy. Oh.
That was an interesting little conversation.
It was. Very strange. Full of some good information in there, but strange nevertheless.
Yeah, well, don't shoot the messenger.
People are just weird. Corny ass jokes.
But he was talking about those antidotes too that I told you. He has a whole list of antidotes for all types of different illnesses. Not illnesses, but poisons.
I'm pretty sure it's Enoch.
But it sounds like it's updated now. Like they have new different herbs and stuff that he probably didn't know about.
Damn, stomach bubbling.
You're gonna be running past this live to the bathroom.
Nah, that's not bubbling like that, man. Yeah, venom peptides and shit. Snake venom. Come on.
Yeah, and plastic is like one molecule away from being food, from being edible.
Oh, yeah.
So
Man, damn, some strong ass water pressure.
that he in the kitchen washing his hands. He's just loud. Be careful.
Chill out, baby. Who?
Leave my baby boy alone. He just took out the trash. He's a man.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello. Holla, 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 holla.
And so what's next? What you playing next?
Ain't really got nothing.
You can go into your funny stuff. A little bit.
I could.
I mean, bushmeat is funny by itself, but
Let's see if I got something in my watch later. It won't give me a community guideline strike.
what you playing?
It's the Titan Debate League. What's that?
Oh no, that's my friends.
Titan Debate League.
Yeah, that's A1 and Silky D and all of them. They very pseudo, you know. They black.
And necessary is obviously necessary. So that's what
No.
the three are.
No,
Those are how something.
Contingent means it could be either or. It doesn't mean it's true.
Contingent means that it doesn't have to be true.
It doesn't have to be true. It could be true or false. You don't know the value.
Impossible. Okay, fine. That's fine. Impossible is it's not true, but it could be.
No, possible means it's just maybe it's true accidentally. We don't know.
But it's not true.
No, it doesn't mean it's not true. Like I said, it could be accidentally true, right? Just because there's no evidence.
How would you?
This is not a science.
How can
it's
you?
not.
Make,
it's not a science.
How
Is
can
not
you prove a thing is accidental?
What do you mean? How do you prove it? Because it's
It's
there.
possibly true. You don't know that it's true. You don't know that it's false. All you can say is it satisfies enough to be possibly true, which means that it's not true.
No, it doesn't. You can't say that.
Possibly true is not true. It could be true.
Not.
It could be false. It's the same as saying it's not true and it's not false.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay. All right. Here's the point. A modal logic sits on top of regular logic, like upstairs sits on top of downstairs. It's just a stricter extension of it. And what I've been asking him to do tonight is to be less strict when he's talking, or tell us the rules of his strictness. And now that I see he's using modal logic, he's going to continue being right while at the same time we are also right, because we're not even in the same category.
Right.
He's dealing with modal logic
in the same universe.
Yeah, and we're in two different knowledge systems.
Is that Cosmo?
And like,
He in some stuff.
so
Cosmo.
like if you think he's wrong, like he's not wrong. He's actually right. If you apply the rules of modal logic.
His mode of thinking, in his mode of thinking that,
But
you know,
hold on,
It's not my mode of thinking. It's not a mode of thinking like it's
Vortex, hold on. It really is a very, very, very legitimate mode of thinking. Modal logic.
Yes, it is.
Is more formal than I'm familiar with. I'm like already at the end of what I understand about it, like just talking to him now.
Right.
But I do understand. You know what I mean? I'm already leaning over the bounds.
Like that atheist.
Okay.
Told you.
Wrong with you.
They do that all night, every night.
I'm in the wrong damn folder. Looking for some shit that
Who is Gideon? Who is Gideon, Copper Goddess? Is he a Bible thumper? Because I can't remember.
So yeah.
Are you Marsha?
I am. I am.
Thanks for meeting me here. Usually not an interweb date.
You know those scary black box warnings you usually see on heavy-duty prescription drugs? The ones that basically say, pay attention, this stuff could actually kill you? Well, in 2026, those labels are moving out of the pharmacy and into your grocery cart. To see what's behind this change, you're never going to look at a box of crackers or a healthy granola bar the same way. If you're new here, my name is Lily. I'm a certified nutrition health coach, and y'all, we are in the middle of like the three massive changes happening right now in the food world. One, the not recommended for human consumption label, a new labeling law that is honestly making me laugh. I think it's hilarious. But for big food companies, they are furious. They're literally trying to sue to stop it. Secondly, we'll cover the global magnifying glass, why Canada and the US are putting little magnifying glasses on your food. And lastly, we'll cover the secret cleanup and lawsuits, how big food is fighting to keep you in the dark, meanwhile changing their product recipes. So whether you're a label reader or someone who just wants to be able to buy their food witut needing a degree, well, these three changes affect everyone walking into the grocery store today. And my goal is to help keep you guys informed with all of the changes in our food supply and how to live your healthiest lives. And if you appreciate this kind of content, then don't be silly, subscribe, and let's jump in. The first big change is the not recommended for human consumption label. In 2025,
silly, subscribe to Lily. Don't be silly. Subscribe to Lily.
Governor Abbott signed Senate Bill 25, the Make Texas Healthy Again Act. Now, if you don't live in Texas, you might be thinking, okay, so what does Texas do with me? I live in Missouri, or someone lives in California. But the thing is, law is changing how big food labels their food, and a big food change just the way a box and a label is for Texas, and then make their boxes all different for other parts of the country, because Texas has such a massive market. Whatever doing, the rest of the country ends up getting the benefits, eh? Thank you, Texas.
Texas could change the way Americans eat snack foods nationwide, requiring a warning label on many popular food and drinks, reading not recommended for human consumption.
That could impact candies like Skittles and M&Ms, including Doritos and Ruffles, and drinks like Gatorade and Mountain Dew.
It's targeting products using ingredients bleached flour, food dyes, sweeteners, oils, and preservatives. Those are in many processed foods in the U.S., but some have been in other countries.
I believe that the rest of the nation look to Texas and say, they're onto something. And just maybe we can curb the trend of us spending more on healthcare than the other nation in the world.
This law targets 44 specific chemical additives like red 40, yellow 5, and titanium dioxide. This law requires a warning label that says warning that contains an ingredient that is not recommended for human consumption by authorities in Australia, Canada, the EU, or I find that so funny. Honestly, I guess it's supposed to be really sad that they would be incorporating ingredients in their product, but I think I just find the humor in it.
Most food dyes are made with synthetic petroleum-based chemicals. They have no nutritional value and are only used to enhance the colors of food. Cereals, including Fruit Loops and Apple Jacks, contain yellow 6, yellow 5, red 40, and blue 1. According to the Cleveland Clinic, red 40 hyperactivity, including ADHD, behavioral challenges like irritability and depression, skin irritation, and migraines. The other dyes have been shown to have negative side effects.
I really think about it, the wording is particular. It's not like they're saying you have to put a label that says contains artificial food dyes or a label that says low nutritional value. Instead, it's literally a label that's not recommended for human consumption. This is the black box of the grocery. Traditionally, the black box warning was reserved for the most dangerous prescription drugs on the market. That same level of seriousness is hitting the food aisles. And you know, sometimes I do wonder if by adding new labels to packaging to change how people shop and what they consume, going to stop buying things like Fruity Pebbles. I can't help but think that if a mom is reaching for some fruit snacks for her kids, is this warning label of not ready for human consumption, I do think it's going to be a psychological game changer. I mean, I know for myself, back when I used to eat more foods that were ultra processed, and I would weight gain, acne, menstrual cycle, I was eating foods with these 44 ingredients every single day because I thought that if a food was on the shelf, then it was safe. But this law is now putting the truth front and center. You can't miss it. And so I really do hope that these black boxes, how people shop, we consume. That brings us to our second topic, the global max front of package movement. As of January 1st, 2026, Canada has now officially flipped what's going on. And now if a food is high in sugar, saturated fat, or sodium, carry a little magnifying glass on the front.
Cereals, drinks, and other prepackaged foods in Canada's grocery stores will soon have the symbol of this black and white mix. It signals customers about foods that are high in sugar or high in salt. Food companies have until January 1st to apply the front label. It's an addition to the nutritional value table that's much easier to read.
It's visual and it interprets the data. And even though this is happening in Canada, at this point, the MAHA movement and RFK Jr. are finalizing a similar kind of label here in the US. If it's high in sugar or sodium, it will get a symbol on front of the package as well. We are finally treating ultra-processed foods with the same that we give to pharmaceuticals. Targets of these new high sugar or high sodium labels are sports drinks. You know, the ones that are neon blue and are basically the side of Red 40. Red 40, the artificial food dye linked to hyperactivity in children and banned in other countries. I don't touch any foods, sports drinks, or sodas with artificial food dye in them. Instead, I use Element Electrolytes, today's video sponsor. I'm very picky about the body, and with Element, they don't have any for black box targeted ingredients. They have no Red 40, no titanium dioxide, no synthetic preservatives. Instead, Element is full of sodium and magnesium, which has been a total game changer in how good I feel. Having less eye twitching, less cramping, feeling like I'm just more energized, and helps prevent those afternoon brain fogs. And so if you'd like to help and try a clean way to stay, you can get 8 free packets of Element's most popular with any order using the link in the video description, drinkelement.com/LilyKane. They also offer a money-back guarantee, so if you try it and you don't like it, you can get your personal favorite flavors are the watermelon, but also I like to put the chocolate salt and the salted Kwai yogurt, and it's super yummy. All right, let's move into the secret cleanup and lawsuit. Unsurprisingly, Big Food is losing its literal mind. They are doing two things. They are suing. They've filed massive federal law claiming that by telling you an ingredient is not for human consumption of their free speech.
Boy.
Hand off your taxes to Brotherhood. Now, your TurboTax expert can file for you.
Quickly.
They're literally fighting for the right Big Food's argument here is basically, we have the right to put chemicals in your foods without you feeling scared about it. But the MAHA movement, led by RFK Jr. and HHS Secretary Marty Makary, they're saying that the scare is actually just the truth. For decades, these companies put the artificial food dyes and other funky chemicals they're adding to their products in tiny font on the back of their packages is being dragged to the front. And so the second thing that big food companies are doing is they're changing their recipes. Have you noticed lately some of your favorite snacks having the label new recipe or even made without artificial food dyes?
Introducing Simply Naked. PepsiCo removing the artificial dyes from Cheetos and Doritos, making them totally colorless. The idea here from the company is that they are reinventing some of its most iconic snacks, Doritos and Cheetos, and they're basically removing some of those artificial dyes and flavors.
Yeah, that's not because these companies care about your health all of a sudden. It's regulatory avoidance. These companies are slowly removing these 44 ingredients from their recipes so that way they don't have to put that scary black box warning label on the front of their package. So in a weird way, it's kind of like those black box labels are already working without being fully implemented.
Kellogg's will stop using the food colorings by 2027. The company told Straight Out News, "We see the growing focus on health to meet consumer needs in even more meaningful ways." Companies including Kraft Heinz, Hershey, Tyson's, and others have made verbal commitments.
Now, again, not necessarily because Big Food suddenly cares about your health, but you know, either way, it's working and I'll take it as a win. A lot of people don't know that Goldfish crackers are 68 years old. Cool Whip is 60 years old. Doritos chips are 62 years old. The majority of foods in the grocery store now that people think of as normal didn't even exist for our grandparents. And so for the past 70 years, we've been told that these foods, they're totally fine. And now we're finally having some labeling on the package that is telling the truth. 2026 is the year where the food industry finally has to show their cards. Now, whether the FDA actually makes these laws mandatory across the country or whether the big food industries win their lawsuits, it really doesn't matter at this point because the cat is out of the bag and people are now starting to ask, wait, what is this in my food? The black box movement isn't about the government telling you what to eat. It's about restoring the choice that was taken away from us for 70 years. But you know what doesn't get a black box warning label? The ribeye steak, the pasture-raised eggs, the blueberries. While big food corporations are trying to explain why they're kept for you and your family to consume, real food is just being real food. It's just one ingredient. It doesn't need a label. It has nothing to hide. We don't need to have these magnifying glass and black boxes on real food. Real health is built by stepping outside the system and just getting back to the basics. And if you enjoyed this video, I know you're going to be curious about how AI is impacting our food and the food products being produced. I'll leave that video right here. Don't be silly, subscribe to Lily, and I hope you have a happy day.
She tripping.
I'm Tony Brown, executive producer. Welcome to Black Leaders 73. This program has been pre-recorded, and you will not be able at this time to phone in any questions. The questions that you hear were directed in some instances to specific panelists, and in other instances they were not. Some of the panelists had not been advertised, and we do not have a number of questions for them. However, they have been encouraged to answer any questions, no matter to whom they are directed. For the next 90 minutes, we will present an unedited two-way communication system between you and our Congress of Black spokesmen. We will be using television as an instrument of positive social reform, allowing Black America to question members of her leadership and make herself heard collectively. Our guests are Judge William Booth, President, American Committee on Africa. Hayward Burns, National Director, National Conference of Black Lawyers. Berkeley Burrell, President, National Business League. Stokely Carmichael, All African People's Revolutionary Party. Angela Davis, National United Committee to Free All Political Prisoners. Fannie Lou Hamer, Director, Mississippi Freedom Farm Corporation. Nelson Johnson, National Chairman, Youth Organization for Black Unity. William Lucy, International Secretary Treasurer, American Federation of Federal, State, County, and Municipal Employees, and the Chairman of the Steering Committee of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. The Honorable Percy Sutton, President of the Borough of Manhattan. The Honorable Louis Stokes, Democrat of Ohio, and Chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus. Cindy J. Williams, Jr., President, National Association of Black Social Workers. And James D. Williams, National Urban League. One of our panelists was unable to be with us and wired us his regrets. The following telegram is from Mr. Stanley Scott, Special Assistant to the President of the United States. I will now read his telegram. Deeply regret that I must cancel my appearance on your show because of an assignment recently given me on behalf of the President. I would welcome the pleasure of being your guest at a later date. With every best wishes for a very successful show, Stanley S. Scott, Special Assistant to the President. Indeed, there are many other black spokesmen, but our physical and technical capabilities have limited us. We do want the public to understand that our black leadership does include persons not on this panel. To continue to expose more of our leaders, we have invited a different group from our 1972 version. In selecting tonight's panel, we attempted to bring together a diversity of positions and philosophies, held together by the common thread of concern for all black people. May we now have our first question.
Black Leaders 73, I have to tell you recording your question, and we need your permission to record it and to edit it and to put it on the air.
You have my permission to do that. My name is Carl Smith from Lawton, Oklahoma. A pluralistic society in which all ethnic and racial minorities try to contribute to the mainstream and still retain their cultural identity is often advocated as a desirable goal for our country. My question is it a realistic goal? Is it possible? And if not, why?
If you didn't understand that question, I can read it to you again. He said, a pluralistic society in which all ethnic and racial minorities try to contribute to the mainstream and still retain their cultural identity is often advocated as a desirable goal for our country. My question is it a realistic goal? Is it possible? And if so, and if not, why?
The diversities, I guess, that we have among black people. I hate to say black leaders because I don't think of ourselves as black leaders. I don't think any people need leaders. We are working in the field and we're doing our job. But there is the diverse opinion. Some folks believe that you can work within the system and you can make the system work for you. Others believe you can't work within the system, you've got to have something else. I happen to be one of those who believes that although we have not progressed as we should have, and that the great masses of the people have not at all been able to use their inert talents, the talents they've got and that have been hidden by reason of cultural bias and examinations and all the rest that's happened to us through the years, that although the masses of the people have not tasted the success that is available here in this country, still I believe that it is possible, if I didn't believe it was possible, to work within the system and to reach my own cultural life, in spite of what's happening. I would have to give up my job. I'd have to give up my various positions and organizations that I belong to. I'd have to say, well, down with all organizations connected with this government. But I look upon this government as being one of men who can be changed if there's enough pressure put upon them, and if the numbers that we've got together, that black people have and related people have in this country, if we put our numbers together, we can overcome the forces against us. Otherwise, I couldn't exist in this country that way.
I would think that what our brother Judge Booth said is correct. The only question would be, what kind of change do we want? I think everybody would be for that society. The question is whether or not it could come about under the present system of this government, or whether that system must be changed. I, for one, believe that it cannot come about under the present system, a capitalist system. That system must be changed. I believe that. I think that if we have the same objectives, then it doesn't make a difference where we work. As a matter of fact, a man working to change the system with that objective in mind can do very much inside the system, once he doesn't lose sight of his objective. An example that comes to mind is that a few years ago, it was found out that one of the advisors for President Thieu was working for the Viet Cong.
I do think that we make a mistake if we talk about this in terms of absolute doctrine. We talk about it in terms of black people and integration, or black people and separation. It seems to me that that's a false dichotomy that has been set up in terms of the way in which the debate is discussed. The real issue I feel for black people is one of empowerment and one of redefinition of the way in which black and white people are interacting in society. I feel that's what we must be about.
Well, I think that if you consider the fact that this system, this capitalist system under which we're living today, is designed in such a way that nobody, a privileged few, can attempt to express themselves or contribute to anything, there's no doubt about the fact that we have to talk about revolutionizing the system before anybody can live in any kind of human fashion.
Anybody?
Together. I would just like to point out the fact that I have seen with my eyes societies where people of different colors have learned how to live together, each maintaining their own cultural identity, but each fighting to build and to continue to construct a socialist revolution together. I was in Cuba not very long ago, and I saw with my own eyes how black people, brown people, and white people have reached the point where they can work in harmony towards the building of a socialist society.
Any other responses?
Add to what Brother
What did Haynes
Brown said over there just a moment ago. I think the key question is that good idea to work toward a total input by all I suppose ethnic groups in our society, black and what have you. But the key is not you have a sufficient amount of power within yourself. The system is working against your vested interest. In school some years ago, we were taught to think of America as a melting pot, and I think the current administration has proven that there are ethnics who are unmeltable, because even though they are invisible, they are still there to identify with their own vested interests as a people. I think as black people, we've got to become concerned, first of all, with what our vested interest is in either preserving the system or changing the system. And once we make that determination, then the direction that we have to take is clear for us. For instance, if you look at the various arms or branches of government, they represent different interests, yet there is none that represents our interests. For instance, the business interest is represented by a branch. You will never find that branch, going contrary to what the interest of business happens to be. Yet there's the labor interest, and only here lately have we found some differences there. But every segment of our society that represents a power, lever is represented there, except people, and particularly black people. And I think we should be about the business of coming together, not in specifics as to what our interests and goals are, but certainly in generalities in terms of what we need to exist in this society.
Let me ask a question about your comment. Would it be correct to infer from your comments that you would suggest some attachment of a power mechanism for black people to the governmental apparatus as a solution to the empowerment of black people?
I think what I'm getting at is the acquiring of power within the black people themselves to affect the system in any way it needs to be affected in order to produce on behalf of the interests of black people. I'm not saying we should have a black agency. That's not what I was referring at all. I'm saying that every other ethnic group in our society has, by some means or other, acquired the power to move out of their depressed or oppressed situation, with the exception of black and brown. I think what I'm saying is that whatever that power has to be to move the government or move local structures, that's what we need to be about. And I think that this vested interest should be the basis of our movement.
Mr.
You know,
Sutton?
America really is an ethnic society. And I live here in New York now, though I come from Texas, and New York has always been talked about as a melting pot. It really isn't a melting pot. We have Jews, we have Italians, we have blacks, we have Puerto Ricans, a variety of other cultures that live side by side with each other, not always happy with each other. But if we're talking about change, whether it's a change of the style of the government or an absolute change in the nature of the government to a socialist society or whatever other society, I think the thing that is fundamental to it, if we as black people are going to talk about change, one of the first things we need to do is develop some unity within ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean that all black people have to speak the same language or have the same philosophy, but we have to learn to communicate, and I think we are, in a large measure, learning to communicate with each other. And we've got to develop coalitions with others because we're a small minority. We have great power, however, if we can unite our minority with other minorities, because there are other groups of people who would wish to move in the same direction as we wish. So it doesn't make me any difference whether we're going, if I thought tomorrow we could stage the revolution and the revolution would succeed, I would give leadership to it. That is, a revolution by whatever method. But at this structure in our development, I believe the kind of revolution that is going to take place is a social revolution without bloodshed. And if this is to be so, one of the first things that must be accomplished is that black people, poor people, must unite themselves and then join forces with others.
Well, now, Harlem has been a barometer for a number of years of perhaps black feeling across the country in terms of mood. What do you see, what direction do you see the mood in Harlem going in?
I'm not too sure that Harlem has been the mood of the country. Harlem is one of the most volatile places in the country. When I travel to other places, I'm amazed at the amount of unity. We have unity in Harlem, unity in one thing, that we're different. Many of us are different. We have more nationalist organizations. We have all of the organizations you want to perceive of many of them have their facets in Harlem. No, I don't think Harlem is the mood. Harlem is a very sophisticated place. Sophisticated in the sense that we all understand the need for others of us to exist. So I could not use it as the barometer of America. But if it should be the barometer of America, I think it would be good. But I'm afraid that it is not.
Mrs. Hamer, do you see changes since you're from right in the middle of the rural South, do you see any trend there in terms of black people moving toward unity, moving away from unity? Just generally, what is going on in your area of the country?
Well, I do see more unity because the power structures in the South are forcing us to have more unity. You know, there have been a class split with the black community. That's being moved because we are finding out whether you middle class or no class is no different. As long as we black, we in the same boat. And that's forcing us to be together. Because, you know, we've seen what is happening in our schools. You know, like if a principal was a principal and was moved and become assistant principal, his job, if he's black, automatically, if he becomes assistant principal, his job automatically is to carry toilet tissue from one school to the other one and load up the bus. So he's finding that it's no different in us, and it's forcing us to get together. And I think that the change will come because we have to, it's nothing handed to us on a silver platter, and we have to work together for a change in the South.
Congressman Stokes, did your election as the new chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus indicate a new direction? And if it did not, is there a new direction for the Congressional Black Caucus?
Well, what we had to do immediately after I assumed the chairmanship was to try and evaluate our role. We found ourselves at that time being 13 black legislators out of a body of 435 congressmen, and having formed a black caucus for the purpose of trying to alleviate the conditions under which poor and black and disadvantaged people live in this country. We had to try and evaluate that in terms of 1973 and the United States Congress. particularly in light of the present administration in Washington. As we evaluated our role, we realized that we sort of grew up overnight, and we immediately tried to be all things to all people. And for a period of 18 months, we conducted a series of conferences, a series of around points of interest and concern to black and disadvantaged people in this country. And after we had developed all of the hearings and the conferences, we realized we had a great deal of data collected, a great deal of proposed legislative solutions. And so we realized that we ought to get out of the business of conducting conferences and hearings, because we had the data, we had the specifics with which to work, and propose legislation which would get at some of the solutions to some of these problems. So consequently, we decided that we would try and make the emphasis of the caucus that of a legislative thrust, that is to add a black perspective to that legislation coming through the United States Congress, particularly in light of our work on committees, where we can fashion amendments to legislation before it even comes to the floor that would add a black perspective to that kind of legislation. And so it's emphasis or thrust that the Black Caucus attempted to change this direction.
I'd like to add either Mr. Williams and or Mr. Williams, since the National Association of Black Social Workers is definitely interested in services for black people, poor people, and the Urban League is definitely in the business of institutionalizing services. How do you see the recent budget proposals or the appropriations service programs affecting black America, specifically during summer months and on into the years?
The way I view it, the current Nixon administration policy is creating or will create a critical condition in the black community. They're cutting back on key services in the area of daycare, welfare, scholarships for students to attend school. Many students would not be able to attend the open school enrollment program, and etc. But even more importantly, currently in the black community, despite the statistics that have been projected by the Nixon administration, you see, we made a survey in both Harlem and Watts, and we came up with statistics that something like 40 to 50% of blacks that are unemployed at this particular time right now. Now, the current cutbacks create even more unemployment. In fact, some statistics have already been thrown out by some of the black groups that something like 200,000 black people in the poverty program would be affected, that are currently employed, that will be affected by the job cuts. So this is only compounding the current unemployment situation that currently exists now in the black community. So I think that we are past the repression state. We're in a critical point, because not only does this exist in Harlem and Watts, throughout the major urban areas in the city. And I think that as black people, we're going to have to begin to speak out against this current trend, because it's having a drastic effect on the black community.
Tony, to respond to that same question, that we do regard the budget cuts as disastrous in terms of the actual dollars, but the type of philosophy that have unveiled, that we're talking, well, let's just deal for a moment with the housing programs. Admit that some of those programs did not work. But some of those programs did not. There was fraud involving government agencies, involving the private sector. So what happens? The programs are cut out and the poor people are penalized. In other words, that we are being victimized because someone else has victimized us. And the whole question of the cut deals with the type of philosophy that says the country has done enough for poor people, so now we'll move on to something else, that stroke of a pen. And so therefore that these programs are no longer needed. And anyone that needs these programs are really free, whom we can do without. So we deal not only with the question of the dollar amounts, but the question of the type of philosophy that's trying to, well, that is being applied in this type of approach to the budget. So I think that that's the main thing.
I just want to make one point about the whole budget cutback thing, as we see it. And I think, again, we see a really magnificent PR game being done by the Nixon administration. because the nation as a whole assumes that the cuts that are taking place are, one, to eliminate black people from the roles, from the welfare, to make life easier for the taxpayers out in the hinterland. But if you really track the statistics and see exactly who is benefiting from the programs that goes down, generally, 2/3 of the people who receive benefits are 1/3 being black. In terms of those who are receiving direct public aid or public assistance, you will find that the number increases to something like 1 out of 5 social workers. Just the pure and simples indicate that. What has happened is that out in the Midwest, where it's becoming acceptable now to assume that discrimination, the administration has convinced people that what we are doing is keeping your taxes down, keeping those programs. We're taking those programs out rather that have contributed to the inflation and all this other foolishness. I think what we have to do, and I think there's a tragedy that some of the so-called liberals who have participated in these discussions before are not speaking out on the issue now, but it's being left to black leadership to deal with the whole question of budget cutbacks. And I think there's a real need to raise the level of awareness across the country, because we even got folks who are talking about, well, we should be phasing down. Phasing down got nothing to do with it. If you cut back on the social time and increase the defense budget, when we're supposed to be winding down our involvement in Southeast Asia, there's something out of balance there. And
Tony, I don't think, let me just piggyback what Bill Lucy said. There should not have a discussion. There should never be a discussion of welfare without some explanation to the public. Welfare really is. Lockheed is getting welfare. We live in the suburbs. Penn Central is getting welfare.
We pay taxes.
Pardon me?
We pay taxes.
Exactly. We pay taxes. They're getting welfare, but not paying any taxes. But when they get it, it is called a subsidy. And of course, we could go along and give a really description to all of the things that are being done by our federal government, both here in America and abroad, that are in fact welfare. But Mr. Nixon and his crew are not talking about eliminating any of that. They're talking about expanding that.
Well, let me ask this. In his explanation, as far as he's gone to date, President Nixon, when he appeared on television, the situation as he saw it, did you sense that he was implying a reordering, a re-priorities? When he discussed, didn't he say something to the effect that he was going to be a little more sensitive?
No, you want to know what I sensed? I sensed that there was a desperate man trying to cop a plea. He even said a prayer for us at the end of it. No, I didn't sense that he was talking about reordering priorities. I sensed that he was trying to get through a very bad night.
And I think also the thing about that performance really got to the substance of what we're dealing with. That what we got was a lot of rhetoric, a lot of waving of the flag, and then you're supposed to get feeling that Watergate is just. And I think that it was unfair treatment between the American public.
Well, we are.
It's one thing, I'm sorry, it's one thing, that is the only president in the history of my time, the 6th, that can talk an hour and never say nothing.
But we also have to ask ourselves what the real meaning of that Watergate affair is. And I think it's important, especially for those of us who are here this afternoon, to recognize that if the Republican Party will go that far to sabotage the Democratic Party, to sabotage that kind of opposition, what have we already been experiencing insofar as is concerned, and what will we as black people have to face in the future? Because there are many of who feel that not only the Republican Party, but the Democratic Party as well is committed to upholding a system of exploitation. If you look at the McGovern campaign, McGovern didn't even raise the question of racism, and he was supposed to be the far left wing of the Democratic Party. So I think it's important to see this Watergate scandal as being an indication of the real threat of fascism.
And I think that's what it is an of law officials and the abuses of state power at the highest level. You have to take it beyond the particular example, as Davis said, of Watergate, to understand what's going on at all levels in our society as far as abuses of power by the government is concerned, particularly in political areas. If they're doing this against the issue, what are they doing against black people? What are they doing against political? What is happening with the statutes that are being passed and the people who are being appointed to the courts, decisions the courts are rendering? What's happening at the street level in terms of the administration of justice? Then you get the full impact of just how lawless these people are, who are supposedly in charge of administering the law. When you look at the statutes the Congress has passed, preventive detention, you see the no-knock, you see the stop and frisk, you see the Interstate Riot Act. When you look at the Supreme Court of the United States consistently cutting back upon what we regard as traditional rights in this country, doing away with the non-unanimous jury. When you look at the street level, the level of violence, officially sanctioned violence that's going on in this country, the political implications of that. Look at what happened at Kent State.
Got a receipt and bald on top in my trip.